Chapter 1199, Untitled. Chapter 1199, Untitled. Granny Gong brought 4 young maids with her. They had all been carefully chosen for the task and were very well behaved. Some helped Feng Wu get dressed, some tended to her face, and some helped her put her shoes on. Before long, Feng Wu was tidied up and presentable. Granny Gong herself put a belt on Feng Wu. As she did so, she said, "Miss Feng, the Crown Prince carried you back himself." Carried her back himself? Feng Wu's stomach lurched. What did you say? Feng Wu seemed shocked. Granny Gong smiled. "Miss Wu, do you still remember the duel at Imperial College?" Feng Wu said, "Of course." Granny Gong said sympathetically, "His Royal Highness has been in the water dungeon all this time and flogged as self-punishment, but when the secret guard arrived to inform him about the Xianyuan family, His Royal Highness broke out of the water dungeon right away." Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Flogged, self-punishment, broke out of the water dungeon. Granny Gong said seriously, "His Royal Highness arrived just in time to save you, Miss Wu. Otherwise, we can't imagine what might have happened to you." Biting her lower lip, Feng Wu remained silent, but deep down, she was slightly touched. Granny Gong was right. If Jun Linyuan hadn't arrived at the last moment to draw Xianyuan Kuin's soul out of Xianyuan Yi's body, she would have lost the battle. "Where is he?" Feng Wu's clear eyes reminded one of the morning dew, and when she turned around, she looked as pretty as a picture. Granny Gong secretly rejoiced. It seemed that all her efforts hadn't been wasted. The girl, who had been as ignorant of her own feelings as the Crown Prince, was finally going to acknowledge them. Smiling, Granny Gong pushed Feng Wu, who was all dressed up, toward the door. "His Royal Highness is in his study. It's right there, the wooden courtyard." Since Jun Linyuan had given her a lot of help, Feng Wu thought that it was only reasonable to thank the guy. Granny Gong was relieved by the knowledge that she had accomplished her mission. She left in a great mood. On her way to the study, Feng Wu still felt conflicted over how to thank Jun Linyuan when she overheard conversation. "Have you heard? His Royal Highness carried Miss Feng Wu back himself yesterday." "Have we heard? We saw it with our own eyes." "So it's true?" "Of course. Don't you know? Everyone has been talking about it. About His Royal Highness carrying Miss Feng Wu." "That's right. Everyone is saying that His Royal Highness is in love with Miss Feng Wu." "But isn't Miss Zui our future lady? She's the real phoenix. Our Crown Prince won't just have one woman. Miss Zui is going to be his official wife, and Miss Feng Wu is going to be the concubine." "That's right. Miss Feng Wu should consider herself a very lucky woman to be able to become a concubine. Surely she isn't vain enough to hope that she'll become his official wife." Feng Wu heard every single word of the malicious conversation. She had been immersed in her own world, but frowned when she heard this. Usually, she didn't care much about other people's comments, but somehow, she was irritated this time. Whether it was because of Zhuo Qingluan or not, Feng Wu couldn't care less. She only knew that she was now very angry. "Thump!" With a wave of her hand, Feng Wu picked up the maid, who had been guiding the conversation, by the neck. Chapter 1200, Were you talking about me? Chapter 1200, Were you talking about me? It was none other than Jin Xiao. Jin Xiao and Jin Xia were twins. Since Jin Xia worked for Zhuo Qingluan, so did Jin Xiao. And Jin Xiao had been deliberately guiding the conversation in that direction because she saw Feng Wu walking their way. She was trying to make Feng Wu angry. She thought she knew Feng Wu's disposition well, and that the latter would storm off after hearing the conversation. But to her surprise, Feng Wu took action without hesitation. Held up by Feng Wu, Jin Xiao couldn't move a muscle. "Argue?" Jin Xiao looked frightened. Holding her throat, Feng Wu stared at her with an emotionless face. "Were you talking about me?" Feng Wu had lifted Jin Xiao off the ground, and the girl struggled in fear. No matter how hard she struggled, Feng Wu wouldn't let go. Jin Xiao's pupils dilated and her eyes filled with fear. Feng Wu let go of her just before the maid was about to die. Thud! Jin Xiao fell to the ground with a thump. She was in such pain that she was in tears. Feng Wu darted another murderous look at Jin Xiu before she walked away, acting as though Jin Xiu was nothing but an ant. Sitting on the ground, Jin Xiu gasped for air, still looking shaken. Feng stood quietly outside the study. He didn't say a word when Feng Wu arrived and only opened the door for her. Feng Wu didn't look too happy, but she was trying to control her temper. She walked into the study to find the handsome teenager sitting at the table. A stack of memorials were on the table, and the teenager was reading them attentively. Warm sunlight shone in through the side window onto the side of his face. The teenager had well-defined features, and accentuated by the light, he gave off an unapproachable feeling. He looks as pretty as a picture. Those words popped into Feng Wu's head, and she was dazed on the spot as she forgot what she was there for. Just then, the teenager slowly looked up at Feng Wu with his brooding eyes. But he went back to the memorials almost immediately as he said in an indifferent tone, "You're awake." Recalling what she heard from the maids earlier, Feng Wu bit her lower lip and snorted without saying a word. With how arrogant the crown prince was, he sat there and waited for Feng Wu to thank him. However, when she finally arrived, she looked rather reluctant to be there. Frowning, Jun Linyuan spoke in that indifferent tone again. Well done, confronting Xinyuan Kuin's soul like that. There was obvious reproach in his slightly sarcastic tone. Gritting her teeth, Feng Wu retorted inwardly. She hadn't known that Xinyuan Kuin's soul was in Xinyuan Yi's body at first. But somehow, the indifferent glance Jun Linyuan gave her reminded Feng Wu of when she was little and her beautiful master had scolded her when he caught her slacking off. Clenching her fists, Feng Wu didn't speak. Since Feng Wu wouldn't reply, Jun Linyuan pushed away the memorials, which fell to the floor one after another. Feng Wu had very sharp eyes. She saw that all the memorials were about impeaching Jun Linyuan. "Get over here." The teenager was breathtakingly beautiful, but his cold voice was even more striking. Feng Wu clenched her fists. After all, Jun Linyuan had helped her. With that thought in mind, Feng Wu walked up to Jun Linyuan. Chapter 12:01 Untitled. Chapter 12:01 Untitled. Jun Linyuan glanced at her and frowned. "Did someone upset you?" "Who do you think?" thought Feng Wu. Of course, Feng would never say that out loud. She stared at Jun Linyuan, then bowed. After that, Feng Wu stood back up. She turned around decisively and left, keeping her back ramrod straight. Jun Linyuan had done her a big favor, but he had also given her a lot of trouble by carrying her back. Feng Wu felt conflicted. "Stop!" Frowning, Jun Linyuan narrowed his eyes and gave off a terrifying energy. But Feng Wu didn't stop. She kept walking. The next second, an invisible power that resembled a very long arm pulled Feng Wu back. Before Feng Wu realized what was going on, she was already sitting on Jun Linyuan's lap. The position was so suggestive. The first thing Feng Wu could think of was, Zhuo Qingluan is the crown prince's future wife. As for Feng Wu, she'll be his concubine at most. She didn't like the sound of that at all. Feng Wu tried to shove Jun Linyuan away. However, Jun Linyuan caught her with his long, powerful arms and held her so tightly that veins popped on the back of his hands. A storm seemed to rage in the domineering teenager's eyes as he glared at Feng Wu. "Speak." He stared at her with a grim look on his face. Biting her lower lip, Feng Wu sulked. "What are you mad about?" The teenager stared at her, his livid face looking rather frightening. Outside, Feng was almost in tears. Granny Gong was equally surprised, and she turned to Feng in bewilderment. Why was this happening? Everything had been fine when Feng Wu came to the study. Feng shrugged. He thought that the two teenagers had talked it through already. What was this all about? Granny Gong wanted to go in and set things straight for them. "Don't," Feng stopped her. The crown prince was all about saving face. An outsider would only make things worse. Granny Gong pulled a long face. She was worried sick. Inside, the crown prince had a livid expression. Clutching Feng Wu's hand, he said aggressively, "Speak." Taking a deep breath, Feng Wu said, "I thank you for helping me with Flying Dragon and Xianyuan Kun. What more do you want?" Jun Linyuan's eyes reminded one of a savage beast as he sneered. "Since when do I need you to thank me?" Feng Wu gritted her teeth. "If you don't, then let go of me." Jun Linyuan's cold voice turned hoarse. "Tell me why you're angry." Throwing off his hand, Feng Wu stared at him. "You really want to know? Speak. Fine. You asked for it. Here's why." Feng Wu glowered at Jun Linyuan. "Why did you carry me back?" Jun Linyuan frowned. "You carry me off in front of so many people. Do you know the consequences of doing that? Do you have any idea what your fervent fans will do? And do you know what kind of crazy things this Wu family will try to do to me? And there's the Empress Dowager. How do you know she won't make me commit suicide with a glass of poisonous wine?" Feng Wu grew angrier as she spoke. "Why did you have to carry me off? Do you know what that stands for? You're unbelievable." Chapter 1202, Untitled. Chapter 1202, Untitled. The warmth in the Crown Prince's eyes was gone, and the look on his face turned cold again. However, something fragile flashed in his eyes, but it disappeared so fast before Feng Wu could notice it, and the vulnerable look was replaced with raging fire. With a murderous look in his eyes, the teenager reminded one a savage beast. "That's what you're mad about?" Caressing the girl's fair cheek with his calloused fingertip, the teenager whispered, "Do you hate our names being mentioned together that much? Do you hate the idea of being associated with me?" There was something cruel and ferocious in Jun Linyuan's eyes. It gave Feng Wu the creeps. Feng Wu stumbled back involuntarily, but Jun Linyuan wouldn't let go of her hand. In his contracted pupils, there was rage and misery. No one had been able to enrage and upset him like this before. He was a good-looking teenager, and his features were still breathtakingly exquisite even when he was angry. The sadness and despair in his eyes was heartbreaking to see. Even if Feng Wu had a heart of stone, she couldn't help feeling sorry for him at that moment. However, before she realized it, the despair in his eyes was replaced with fury. Killing intent filled the room, as if the god of death had just descended. Suddenly, the teenager lowered his head. Sensing what was coming, Feng Wu involuntarily turned her head away. However, the teenager was too fast. He pressed a hand to the back of her head and gripped her chin with the other hand. The next second, his warm lips landed on hers. His kiss reminded her of a raging storm. It was so domineering that she felt an immense power coming down upon her. Feng Wu was bewildered. When she realized what was going on, the teenager had pried her lips open and stuck his tongue into her mouth. He even tore Feng Wu's robe. The ripping sound startled Feng Wu, and she pushed at Jun Linyuan's chest in frustration, but he wouldn't budge. Infuriated, Feng Wu bit his lower lip until blood oozed out from the corner of his mouth like a blooming rose. However, he still wouldn't stop, and kissed her even harder. Thump! Feng Wu was so furious that her eyes went red. She then slapped him. The crisp sound startled Jun Linyuan, as well as the two people outside the door. Feng and Granny Gong looked at each other in bewilderment, and both were at a loss. To enter or not to enter, that was the question. Inside, Feng Wu glared at Jun Linyuan. There was a distinctive handprint on Jun Linyuan's cheek, and he looked baffled. "Jun Linyuan, I don't know you anything now." Feng Wu shoved him away, then ran off. In her furious state, Feng Wu used all her strength. Jun Linyuan stumbled back at the impact, and his lower back smashed into the corner of the table, which was made from material even harder than dark iron. SSSS. It was so painful that even the Crown Prince grunted. Neither Feng Wu nor Jun Linyuan noticed that when Jun Linyuan smashed into the table, a peach blossom-shaped inkstone on the desk cracked. Some pale pink bubbles then rose out of the crack. Feng Wu slammed the door behind her. She ran past Feng and Granny Gong like a gust of wind. Feng wanted to stop her, but when he heard the noise inside, he rushed in with Granny Gong. The pain made Jun Linyuan break into a cold sweat. His face was streaked with sweat, and for a moment he couldn't stand straight. Chapter 1203, Untitled. Chapter 1203, Untitled. Your Royal Highness. Granny Gong was so upset that she was almost in tears. His Royal Highness was locked up in the water dungeon and endured so much just for Miss Feng Wu. But what did she do? She shoved him. The thought almost made Granny Gong resent Feng Wu. Granny Gong checked Jun Lin Yuan's back to find his robe wet. She touched it, and her hand came back red. Tears welled up in her eyes. Your Royal Highness. She had practically raised him herself. The wounds on his back had been horrible to look at, and she had wrapped them herself. Now, they had torn open again. Jun Lin Yuan's face had turned livid, and the look in his eyes reminded one of a devil. Ow! Jun Lin Yuan bellowed. But your Royal Highness, your wounds need to be bandaged. Granny Gong was devastated. With all the blood and the toxins from the decaying bodies in the water dungeon, no normal human being could withstand that. Go away. Jun Lin Yuan glared at Granny Gong. Feng knew Jun Lin Yuan better than anyone else. From the rage in the teenager's eyes, Feng could tell that he was infuriated. Right now, the Crown Prince wouldn't listen to anyone, except for maybe Feng Wu. At that thought, Feng had no choice but to drag Granny Gong out of the room, quietly closing the door behind them. As soon as Feng closed the door, bang, it was the sound of something crashing to the floor. Granny Gong wanted to say something, but hesitated before she said concernedly, "Why is this happening all of a sudden? I thought the two of them had set things straight." Feng shrugged. The two kids were usually very smart, but when it came to their relationship, neither of them could think straight. His Royal Highness went to help Miss Feng Wu before the toxins were neutralized. Then he went to save her at that critical moment again. He's still hurting from the remaining poison, but Miss Feng Wu didn't show any gratitude. Granny Gong complained. How can she be so ignorant? What doesn't she like about His Royal Highness? He's the best. Why is she so irritable? Is it because he likes her too much? Granny Gong complained. Feng rubbed his nose. The two kids were so alike, and His Royal Highness could be so stubborn. Feng Wu had no idea of Jun Lin Yuan's injury, and she ran back home, still angry. She walked into the Feng Manor to see Feng Lu, Feng Sang, and Feng Iran. Seeing Feng Wu, Feng Lu wanted to taunt her out of habit, but Feng Iran stopped her this time. Feng Wu had become someone they couldn't afford to offend. For one, she had demonstrated her absolute power. After killing Xianyuan Yi, who had reached perfection in his cultivation as a level 9 spiritual grandmaster, Feng Wu was bound to have a promising future. But more importantly, they had seen how the Crown Prince treated her. The scene of Jun Lin Yuan carrying Feng Wu off wasn't something one could easily forget. Those who saw it almost lost their minds. Those who didn't know better congratulated the Feng clan right there and then for having a true phoenix. But Feng Iran and his family only wanted to cry. With the grudges they held against Feng Wu, they couldn't wait for her to die. However, they panicked and were flustered when they realized that she might become Jun Lin Yuan's woman. Hey, you're back. Feng Iran smiled at Feng Wu. Frowning, Feng Wu glanced at Feng Iran in bewilderment. These three had never treated her like this before. Chapter 1204, Untitled. 1204, Untitled. Feng Wu couldn't care less about these people, and left after a glance at Feng Iran. Feng Lu was displeased by Feng Wu's attitude. Do you think you're... However, Feng Iran covered Feng Lu's mouth before she could say anything else. Shut up. Feng Lu protested behind his palm. Feng Iran only put his hand down after Feng Wu was gone and glared at his sister. Are you out of your mind? Feng Lu shoved Feng Iran away. You're out of your mind. Why are you sucking up to her? She's our enemy. I want to kill. Smack. Feng Iran slapped Feng Lu hard in the face. Feng Lu stared at Feng Iran in disbelief. Brother, Feng Iran's face was livid, and he sounded very serious when he said, Feng Lu, open your eyes. Feng Wu is way beyond your reach now. Feng Lu was dumbfounded. Feng Wu had no idea what happened between those two after she left, and she went back to Fallen Star Yard right away. Chowga and the others surrounded Feng Wu as soon as she got back. Xiao Wu, are you all right? Xiao Wu, we were so worried. Xiao Wu, how do you feel now? Feng Wu smiled at the familiar faces and waved her hands. Of course I'm fine. What could possibly happen to me? See, I can jump around, and I certainly can eat a pig now. Well, after a pause, Chowga asked, well, is the Crown Prince really in love with you? Feng Wu's heart skipped a beat. What? Chowga hesitated. He carried you off earlier, so everyone's been saying that he likes you. The beautiful lady grabbed Feng Wu's hands in excitement. Is that true? Xiao Wu, is it? The beautiful lady had always been quite laid back, and no one had seen her so excited before. The others all stared at Feng Wu expectantly. Feng Xiaoqi was the only one who looked sad. Feng Wu jumped up, as if someone had poured boiling water on her feet. Of course not. It's nothing like that. Feng Xiaoqi's eyes lit up. Sister, really? The beautiful lady seemed disappointed. Xiao Wu, really? Feng Wu said, really? There's nothing going on between me and Jun Lin Yuan. Xiuling said, but they all said. Feng Wu said, who do you believe, me or groundless rumors? The others replied in unison, you, of course. Feng Wu said, that's it then. Believe me when I say that I have nothing to do with Jun Lin Yuan. I don't like him, and he doesn't like me either. The others said, all right. Somehow, they didn't sound very convinced. Just then, footsteps came from outside. Knock, knock, knock. Someone was tapping on the door. Granny Zhao rushed over to answer the door. Shortly after that, some familiar figures walked in. They turned out to be Feng Yanfeng, Lady Wang, and their children. Frowning and on guard, Feng Wu stared at the people in the doorway and demanded they leave. You're not welcome here. However, Feng Yanfeng walked in with an obsequious smile before Feng Wu could say anything else. Feng Yanfeng walked up to Feng Wu, patted her shoulder, and chuckled. Xiao Wu, I never knew that you're so capable. I was so worried about you. Why didn't you tell me that you recovered your abilities? All the elders were so concerned. Chapter 1205, Untitled. Chapter 1205, Untitled. Feng Wu was bewildered. Feng Yanfeng even rubbed Feng Wu's head, acting like a loving senior of the family. He then smiled at Lady Xuanji. Sister-in-law, you've had a difficult time bringing up 2 kids all by yourself. How amazing! Xiao Wu has just made a name for herself, and I can see our clan rise again. The beautiful lady remained silent. Looking around, Feng Yanfeng stared at Uncle Chiu and the others with a stern look on his face. Take very good care of Feng Wu. If she needs anything, come and tell us. We'll do our best to meet her needs. After that, Feng Yanfeng waved his hand, and some servants brought out a case and set it down in front of Feng Wu. Feng Wu was baffled by Feng Yanfeng's efforts to show kindness. Her uncle had always been so condescending toward her, but now... Xiao Wu, open it. Feng Yanfeng smiled at Feng Wu, looking very fatherly. Fatherly? The word just didn't match Feng Yanfeng. Frowning, Feng Wu was about to decline when Granny Zhao nudged her with her elbow. After all, they all lived together in the same manner. If the first branch of the clan wanted to play nice, it was better than jumping at each other's throats. There was still a very fragile Lady Xuanji living here in this courtyard now. Feng Wu was reminded of her beautiful mother as well. Hence, she nodded and opened the case. Dense spiritual essence filled the air as soon as the red sandalwood case was opened. Feng Wu asked, are they medium-grade spiritual stones? Rubbing his smooth chin, Feng Yanfeng raised an eyebrow at Feng Wu. Xiao Wu, this case of medium-grade spiritual stones are cultivation resources the clan prepared for you. Here's the share for this month. There'll be more next month. Both Feng Lu and Feng Sang looked jealous. There were 100 spiritual stones here, and they were just for this month. How generous! Feng Yanfeng expected Feng Wu to be elated and even cry with joy, but he guessed wrong. Feng Wu had no reaction when she saw the spiritual stones. She didn't even move a muscle. She had seen her fair share of spiritual stones. There was a top-grade spiritual stone lode right underneath Feng Manor. A few of those would be worth more than this case of medium-grade spiritual stones. Why would Feng Wu be pleasantly surprised? After presenting his gift, Feng Yinfeng moved to one side. Lady Wang stepped out and smiled at Feng Wu. Xiao Wu, be good to His Royal Highness. You're a girl, so don't get jealous. Do as you're told and be demure. That should do the trick. Feng Wu didn't like the sound of that. As expected, Lady Wang went on. Of course His Royal Highness won't have you as his official wife. Our family just isn't good enough for that. So, be content when you're made his concubine. Before Lady Wang could finish, every member of Fallen Star Yard looked offended. Feng Wu's face darkened as well. She knew this was going to happen. They were playing nice only because they saw that Jun Lin Yuan was familiar with her, so they thought that they could take advantage of the Crown Prince's favor. They couldn't wait to send her packing as the Crown Prince's concubine. Staring coldly at Feng Yinfeng and Lady Wang, Feng Wu asked, Uncle, Aunt, what's that supposed to mean? Feng Yinfeng frowned. Feng Wu snorted. I was engaged to Jun Lin Yuan once, then the marriage contract was annulled. You're telling me now that you want me to become his concubine? Grow a backbone already. Chapter 1206. When His Royal Highness is angry, a lot of people will die. Chapter 1206. When His Royal Highness is angry, a lot of people will die. Feng Yinfeng's face turned livid. Feng Wu smirked. I'll never become anyone's concubine, not even the emperor's, let alone a crown prince's. Feng Yinfeng pointed angrily at Feng Wu. You brat. Feng Wu stared coldly at him. Uncle, if you're so eager to earn Jun Lin Yuan's favor, you're welcome to send your own daughter to become his maid. Aren't you worried about what I'll do to you if you try to trick me? Feng Yinfeng said. Feng Wu, His Royal Highness held you in his arms. Do you think anyone else will marry you? Feng Wu smirked. It's like what I said. I have nothing to do with Jun Lin Yuan, and it'll stay that way. Nothing is ever going to happen between him and me. Thump. Infuriated, Feng Yinfeng kicked the case. What was he thinking? He had to be insane to expect her attitude to have improved. Feng Yinfeng stormed off. Glancing at Feng Wu with a malicious look in her eyes, Lady Wang smiled, then left. That was right. She was the one who had put Feng Yinfeng up to this. She knew that with Feng Wu's temperament, she would never agree to become a concubine. As it turned out, Lady Wang was right. Thanks to Feng Wu's pride, Lady Wang's mind was settled. Otherwise, the first branch of the clan would have to follow Feng Wu's orders when she became the crown prince's woman. And if Feng Wu learned the truth about what happened back then, Lady Wang was determined to sabotage the relationship between Jun Lin Yuan and Feng Wu. She wouldn't let the two of them become a couple. Feng Wu was still furious after Feng Yinfeng's family left. Why did everyone think that she was only good enough to be the crown prince's concubine? Why not his official wife? Bah, I don't want to be his wife. I'm not interested at all. But she was still so mad. Feng Wu gripped a stone in her hand, and she clenched it even tighter in her anger. Crack! There was a loud noise, and Feng Wu felt something crack. She looked down before crying out in surprise. It turned out to be the stone she had taken from old Master Xuanyuan's vault. She had removed 10 items, but this stone was all she had now. And she had just crushed this light yellow stone when she wasn't paying attention. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. But thanks to that, its secret was revealed. There was a tiny peach blossom petal inside the stone. The light pink color reminded one of the cheeks of a shy girl, and it glowed a little. However, how did this petal have anything to do with her broken star pieces? Feng Wu looked confused. What? Feng Wu turned in the direction of the sound. A teenager stood there. The lower hem of his robe flapped in the wind. Standing with his back to the light, he beamed at her, his smile even brighter than the sun. Feng Sun. Feng Wu was bewildered. Why are you here? Glancing at Feng Wu, Feng Sun waved his fan, sat down in a chair, and poured himself a cup of tea before downing it in one go. The Tsuling tea which Feng Wu made was so unique. There was nothing like it. After that, he wiped his mouth and grinned. I heard that someone upset the crown prince. So, here I am, checking on you. Feng Wu snorted, but didn't reply. Closing his fan, Feng Sun moved closer to Feng Wu. Hey, Xiao Wu, how did you do it? Feng Wu said grumpily. What do you mean? Feng Sun said, do you know the consequences of upsetting Boss Jun? Feng Wu said, I have no idea what you're talking about. Looking into Feng Wu's eyes, Feng Sun said casually, do you know what happened to those families that have been trying to get him impeached through the memorials to the throne? Chapter 12:07 The Second Broken Star Piece 1 Chapter 12:07 The Second Broken Star Piece 1 Feng Wu said, I have no idea what you're talking about. Looking into Feng Wu's eyes, Feng Sun said casually, do you know what happened to those families that have been trying to get him impeached through the memorials to the throne? Feng Wu said, it's none of my business. Feng Sun smiled. Are you sure? If you didn't upset him, why would Boss Jun lash out at those families? Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Turning around, she stared at Feng Sun with a stern look on her face. Are you here today to tell me that? Seeing that Feng Wu was genuinely angry, Feng Sun was a little surprised. With Feng Wu's temperament, what he said shouldn't have gotten to her, but why was she so easily agitated today? That was because Feng Wu was still having an emotional breakdown. With what happened at the Crown Prince's residence, and in the wake of her uncle's visit, she had accumulated a lot of negative emotions. So, seeing the look on Feng Wu's face, Feng Sun tried to change the subject. What? Seeing the petal in Feng Wu's hand, Feng Sun seemed amazed. That's a peach blossom petal. Feng Wu was speechless. Obviously. Feng Sun asked, you've been an endless peach blossom grove. Feng Wu asked, what's that? Feng Sun looked confused. You don't know? This petal comes from the Empire peach tree in that grove. Feng Wu was astonished. The stone contained a similar energy to the broken star pieces, which was why Little Phoenix was so sure that it had something to do with the second broken star piece. Feng Wu had just been trying to figure out what clue this petal could provide. Where is this grove? Feng Wu grabbed Feng Sun's arm in excitement. Her eyes sparkled. All her negative thoughts fled, to be replaced with excitement and eagerness. Feng Sun looked at Feng Wu in surprise, wondering why the girl looked like a different person so abruptly. Is this petal very important to you? Feng Sun was confused, for he had never seen Feng Wu so excited. Feng Wu nodded, and there was anxiety in her eyes. Tell me, rubbing his chin, Feng Sun said, it's right on the hill behind Imperial College. Feng Wu rose to her feet, moving so fast that Feng Sun almost didn't have time to react. He caught her by the arm, almost making her trip. Feng Wu looked at him in bewilderment. Feng Sun shook his head. Do you think it's a place you can just walk into? You won't be able to get in. Feng Wu was confused. Why? Feng Sun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That hill is where the legendary Wandering Temple is. You won't be able to get in. Feng Wu asked, why can't I? Feng Sun asked, have you heard of Master Ling Hu of the Wandering Temple? Feng Wu raised her eyebrows. As in the creator of Tsuling Tea. Feng Sun said, yes, him. He's an unconventional figure who's not bound by worldly affairs, and he's all about fate. Only those he deems worthy can get into the temple. Feng Wu glanced at Feng Sun and said casually, so, you're saying that I'm not worthy enough to meet Master Ling Hu? Feng Sun stared at Feng Wu. Only a handful of people in Imperial College are deemed worthy. Boss Jun is one of them, of course. Let's take me, for example. Chapter 12:08 The Second Broken Star Piece 2 Chapter 12:08 The Second Broken Star Piece 2 Feng Sun pulled a long face. I've been going to Wandering Temple with Boss Jun since we were little, but only Boss Jun was allowed to go in, and I had to stay outside with the little monk at the door. And it stayed that way until 2 years ago when Master Ling Hu finally agreed to see me, but he only said one sentence before sending me away. So, don't put too much hope in your visit. You'll only be shut out. Who are the people that Master Ling Hu agrees to meet with? Asked Feng Wu. Feng Sun said grumpily, I can tell you, but you'll only get frustrated. Feng Wu said, do tell. Feng Sun said, His Majesty, the Crown Prince, Mr. Liu. You know, the handful of supreme cultivators. If that was the case, there was a big chance that Master Linghu wouldn't see her. So what? Feng Wu knew that she would do everything in her power to find the second broken star piece. Xiao Wu. Seeing that Feng Wu still wouldn't give up, Feng Sun stomped his foot in resignation. Fine, if you insist, I'll go with you. Otherwise, you won't even know where the temple's entrance is. Imperial College was in the outskirts, and Feng Sun and Feng Wu rode there as fast as their horses could take them. Something happened when they rode past a maple tree grove. Watch out! Feng Sun suddenly cried out. The next second, Feng Wu's horse reared up, almost throwing her off its back. It turned out that a string had been tied between two big trees that Feng Wu had been about to ride through. The string was transparent and glossy in the sunlight. It was as thin as hair but was lethal. If Feng Wu hadn't stopped at the last moment, her head would have been cut off. What malicious trap! No one could have seen that coming. Before Feng Wu could react, black dots flashed through the sky like shooting stars. The next second, they were in front of Feng Wu. Feng Sun's pupils contracted. There were as many as 15 men in black, and they surrounded Feng Wu and Feng Sun. Their temples were plump, which was a sign that they weren't regular assassins. Who are you? Before Feng Sun could go on, the head of those men gave the order. Kill them. With a wave of his hand, 5 men charged AF Feng Sun, while the other 10 rushed toward Feng Wu. There was a cold and murderous look in Feng Sun's eyes. Xiao Wu, watch out. As he spoke, Feng Sun drew out his sword and charged at the men attacking him. Feng Sun was right. These were all very capable men. The 5 charging at him were the most capable ones of them all. Instantly, sword energy filled the air and spiritual essence spread out, creating an intimidating atmosphere. Thump! 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 Feng Sun glared at the assassins and was flustered. He couldn't kill all 5 men at once, and it only made him more concerned about Feng Wu. Feng Wu had to face 10 people all by herself. They reached Feng Wu in no time with their flashing blades and raging spiritual essence. Countless flashes of light shot up like columns of water with a roar. Shit! Feng Wu's stomach lurched. These 10 people were all as capable as Xin Yuan Yi. She had confidence in defeating them one at a time, but they were attacking her together. Feng was no fool. She jumped on her horse and took flight. Where do you think you're going? Chapter 1209, The Second Broken Star Piece 3. 1209, The Second Broken Star Piece 3. Those men in black moved very fast. They shot out like black shadows after Feng Wu. Hiya! Feng Wu whipped her horse, urging it to run faster. But the horse would never outrun those men, and they were gaining on her as she watched. Young lady, you're not going anywhere. Prepare to die. Behind her, the head of the team smirked in an eerie voice. His hoarse voice reminded one of a ghost, and when he laughed, the sound gave one the creeps. I can't get away. Says who? Taking a deep breath, Feng Wu sprinted out. Her beautiful master had taught her phoenix dance, which was the most advanced stance for movement known in this world. Therefore, Feng Wu was able to pick up speed when she exerted her strength. Behind her, the men in black seemed to know what her abilities were, so whoosh! Even before they reached her, their long swords shot out at Feng Wu's back like shooting arrows. How intimidating those swords were. What was more, the 10 swords formed a hexagonal formation in midair. The team leader smirked. Killing Feng Wu was so easy. He was confident that this stance would kill Feng Wu. In fact, the sword formation was indeed a very powerful one, and it pressed down on Feng Wu with incredible sword energy. The air itself twisted. The hard ground cracked. Feng Wu looked up to see the sun blocked by the formation, and the blue sky turned grim and gray. The temperature dropped abruptly. The ferocious sword energy smashed down on Feng Wu's head like a giant whirlpool, as if it was going to grind her to pieces the next second. Xiao Wu, Feng Sun was so flustered that his eyes turned red. He wanted to help Feng Wu, but these men were blocking his way with all their might. Furious, Feng Sun had killed 2 men already. With bloodshot eyes, Feng Sun cut the men down as if they were vegetables. The blade slid another man's throat open. Instantly, blood gushed out. Even so, he was too late to save Feng Wu. Right now, Feng Wu could clearly sense the terrifying power above her. The sword formation roared like a dragon, making her dizzy. She had to stay awake. Feng Wu knew that Feng Sun wouldn't be able to help her, and that she could only depend on herself now. To other people, this hexagonal sword formation was mysterious and powerful, but to a formation expert like Feng Wu, something made in such haste was full of loopholes. She stared at the third sword. It moved slightly slower than the other swords, which created a gap in a supposedly watertight formation. What happened next was quicker than words could describe. A moment before the formation fell on top of her, Feng Wu moved like a streak of lightning and charged into the center of the formation. No! Feng Sun screamed. Feng Wu was going to be cut into pieces. The men in black sneered, thinking that they had accomplished their mission. But, to their surprise, the moment Feng Wu reached the center of the formation, there was a flash of white light, and Feng Wu broke free from the formation. She even used the momentum to run further away. What? The assassins, who had thought that they could wrap up for the day, eyed one another in bewilderment. How had she gotten away? Chapter 12:10, The Second Broken Star Piece 4. Chapter 12:10, The Second Broken Star Piece 4. They had used this hexagonal formation 1,000,000 times, and it had always worked. The team leader's face darkened, and he was furious. He realized that Feng Wu was indeed a difficult target. No wonder she had been able to kill Xianyuan Yi and trick Xianyuan Kuan. Catch her! With a whoosh, the assassins raised their swords and ran after Feng Wu. By then, Feng Sun had finally taken care of all the 5 men around him. He then exerted all his might and dashed off as fast as he could. However, Feng Wu and those men were moving so fast that even Feng Sun couldn't catch up to them right away. Meanwhile, Feng Wu was running at an unbelievable speed. She was running as fast as Phoenix Dance would allow her. The assassins had been too confident in their hexagonal sword formation and had underestimated Feng Wu, which had made it possible for her to escape. Stop! Hidden weapons were thrown at her from behind, but she was too far away for any of them to reach her. However, these assassins had been carefully chosen for the job. They were moving very fast and continued to gain ground. Feng Wu panicked a little, for at this speed, they would catch up to her in less than 5 minutes. What should she do now? Feng Wu raised her head and quickly looked around. Wait, she saw a sea of pink up ahead in the distance. It was Endless Peach Blossom Grove. There was a fork in the road ahead of her. One path would lead to the grove, while the other would take her to Imperial College. An idea struck Feng Wu, and she had a plan. Slowly, she moved to the right, which led to Imperial College. The men in black saw this and knew what her plan was. The team leader gestured with his hands, instructing his men to ambush Feng Wu. Whoosh! When they moved in the direction of Imperial College, Feng Wu abruptly turned at the fork and headed for Endless Peach Blossom Grove. Damn it! The team leader, who had arranged for his men to ambush Feng Wu on the road leading to Imperial College, was infuriated. What a scheming girl. However, that was Endless Peach Blossom Grove, and anyone who entered without permission would be killed. The team leader gritted his teeth. There was no time to call back the other assassins, so he mustered all his energy and dashed forward. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. He ran twice as fast as before. However, he could only maintain this speed for 10 seconds, after which he would be drained of strength. But he believed that 10 seconds was all he needed. Meanwhile, Feng Wu was still running as fast as she could. The grove was right ahead of her, and as soon as she entered, she would have time to make further plans. 3 kilometers, 2 kilometers, 1 kilometer. Just then, she heard the sound of something ripping through the air. Looking back, she was shocked when she saw the team leader charging at her at a terrifying speed. Shit! Feng Wu paled and tried to quicken her pace. But she was already running at her fastest speed. Whoosh! The grove was only 500 m away, but the team leader was only 100 m behind Feng Wu. And he kept gaining on her. Feng Wu could hear his sinister snicker. Was she going to die here? Die! The man raised his sword as he leapt into the air. The sword seemed to cut the sky open. The clouds rolled. Chapter 12:11 Master Linghu 1. Chapter 12:11 Master Linghu 1. The twisted space seemed to crack open. Feng Wu could sense a powerful energy over her head, to the point that she couldn't withstand it any longer. She was nervous and full of despair. Just then, a flash of white light shot out of Feng Wu's hand toward her feet. Hold on. It was Little Phoenix's voice. Whoosh! Little Phoenix instantly teleported Feng Wu away. The team leader was baffled. His sword should have cut Feng Wu in half, but with his target disappearing without warning, the momentum sent his sword smashing into the ground. Thump! The blast spread out, and there was a deep furrow in the ground. It was dozens of meters deep. The team leader was furious. Was this Feng Wu even human? Did she have 9 lives or something? Why could she get away at the most critical moment every single time? Seeing Feng Wu rush into the grove, the team leader gritted his teeth. The rule of the grove was that no weapons or battles were allowed inside, but they weren't inside yet. Picking up speed, the man rushed into the grove after deciding that he would leave as soon as he killed Feng Wu. After all, Master Linghu was such a terrifying name. Turning around, Feng Wu saw the man run into the grove and immediately knew what he was planning. She then heard Feng Sun's voice. Head for the central valley, quickly. But it was too late. The man was so much more powerful than Feng Wu and was a lot faster than she was. In an instant, he had caught up to Feng Wu. You're not going anywhere this time. A streak of golden light appeared in his right hand, and it shot out at Feng Wu in a ferocious manner. The golden light arched in the air before it headed for Feng Wu's back. Feng Sun watched this from afar and was terrified. Stop! Who on earth had sent these men? Why did they have to kill Feng Wu at the price of their own lives? Who was behind all this? Feng Sun wished that he had wings to fly to Feng Wu's side and fend off that lethal blow for her, because he knew that the strike would definitely kill Feng Wu. That team leader had released all his power in that strike. However, it was too late. Feng Sun was so anxious that he was almost in tears. Feng Wu was full of despair. She couldn't die like this. After finally getting her cultivation ability back and making some accomplishments, she might have an opportunity to bring her beautiful master back. There were so many things she still hadn't done. She would never accept her death like this. The man in black smirked maliciously. Where do you think you're going? He was going to take off as soon as he killed Feng Wu. Staying here in the grove would only mean more trouble for him. Someone up there seemed to have heard Feng Wu's prayer. The moment before the sword pierced Feng Wu's chest. Clank! There was the sound of weapons colliding. The team leader's sword was usually unstoppable, but now it had turned into a lump of iron as it fell to the ground. The thing that had destroyed it was... Feng Wu looked down to find a pink petal, which was... A little monk had shown up in front of Feng Wu when she wasn't looking, and he greeted her. Ba, it is a pleasure. Feng Wu's eyes widened. The monk couldn't be more than 5 or 6 years old. His chubby cheeks still had baby fat. He was as fair and tender as a steamed bun. Feng Wu looked down again and saw a small petal next to the lump of iron that used to be a sword. Chapter 12:12 Master Linghu 2. Chapter 12:12 Master Linghu 2. Just then, the little monk used this petal as a weapon to neutralize the team leader's strike before turning the sword into a lump of iron. Impossible. Feng Wu thought that she was seeing things. The man gave the monk a long look and turned to leave. However, He was only able to take a few steps before he heard the monk's unhurried voice from behind. "Sir, I'd rather you stay." The man's stomach lurched. Staying here was the last thing he wanted to do. He immediately started running. Feng Wu watched as the little monk sighed quietly. "Well, sir, I'm afraid that you'll have to leave something behind." After that, a small petal flew out from between the monk's fingers. The petal shot out at an unbelievable speed. The man had taken a lead and was running very fast, but either the monk was too capable or the petal was too spectacular. Thud! The petal flew toward the man and cut his right arm off. What? How could a tiny petal do that? What an amazing thing this little monk had just done. Feng Wu was so shocked that she couldn't believe what she was seeing until the man started screaming. His arm had fallen to the ground, but he didn't dare fight back. Instead, he kept running as fast as he could. Meanwhile, Feng Sun was coming this way, and of course, he wouldn't let the man flee. Thump! Feng Sun raised a hand, easily smashing the hitman. The little monk seemed to be quite familiar with Feng Sun, and he shook his head at the teenager. "Layman Feng, fighting is forbidden here in endless peach blossom grove. Little Yuang Bao, of course I won't make things difficult for you." "There." Feng Sun then grabbed the team leader of the assassins. Feng Sun collided with the man, almost knocking him unconscious. Before the man could react, Feng Sun picked him up and dragged him away like an eagle handling a chicken. The little monk looked at Feng Wu, and there was puzzlement in his bright black eyes. "Let's go." With the man in one hand, Feng Sun prompted Feng Wu to leave. No fighting was allowed in endless peach blossom grove, and Feng Wu was no exception. However, to Feng Sun's surprise, little Yuan Bao made a gesture with his hands, inviting Feng Wu in. "Miss Feng, my master is waiting for you." "And your master is?" Feng Wu was confused while Feng Sun was baffled. Feng Wu didn't know who little Yuan Bao's master was, but Feng Sun did. "My master is known as Master Linghu." Little Yuan Bao smiled at Feng Wu. "Master Linghu?" Feng Sun, who was still holding the assassin, was astonished. "Little Yuan Bao, what did you say? Master Linghu wants to see her?" Feng Sun's eyes almost popped out. Feng Sun had grown up with Jun Lin Yuan, and Master Linghu had only agreed to see him once. But now, Master Linghu wanted to see Feng Wu. There was a big smile on little Yuan Bao's exquisite face. "Yes." Feng Sun was rendered speechless. He stared at Feng Wu. "Do you know Master Linghu?" Feng Wu shrugged. "If I knew him, I wouldn't have asked you to bring me here." Feng Sun agreed with that, but he still couldn't help feeling amazed. Little Yuan Bao led Feng Wu deep into the woods. A Bollywood house stood in the deepest corner of the yard. It was quaint and elegant, and struck one as an important place. A figure stood inside. Chapter 12:13, A Lucky Draw? 1. Chapter 12:13, A Lucky Draw? 1. The door and windows of the central room were open. When the wind blew, pink peach blossom petals drifted inside to scatter over the floor. Little Yuan Bao showed Feng Wu into the central room. He moved very carefully, as if he was worried that he might take a wrong step. "Master, Miss Feng is here." When Master Linghu was around, little Yuan Bao straightened his boyish face and kept his expression as solemn as possible. Master Linghu was looking out the window with his back to Feng Wu. Before Master Linghu said anything, little Yuan Bao left the room. The air seemed hushed, and one could almost hear the sound of the breeze. "Master Linghu," Feng Wu bowed. The man turned around and met Feng Wu's eyes. Even someone who had seen the world like Feng Wu couldn't help but jump a little when she saw him. What a face! He had deep-set features and a good-looking face. His appearance reminded one of an immortal, except that his face was all black and white. The left side was as white as jade, and the right side was as black as coal. The contrast was so stark that it would frighten anyone. Fortunately, Feng Wu was good at keeping her composure. After the initial surprise, she looked perfectly normal again. Looking calmly at the man, she said, "Master Linghu, nice to meet you. However, spiritual essence stretched out from him to wrap around Feng Wu. How terrifying! Feng Wu felt as though a mountain was crushing her. The next second, she had the feeling that she was going to be ground to pieces. She stumbled, barely holding herself up. Her knees almost buckled. Crack! The energy was full of murderous intent. Feng Wu was terrified. She had no idea how she had offended Master Linghu to the point that he wanted to kill her. The murderous intent was so aggressive that Feng Sun, who had been sitting in the tea room outside the courtyard, dropped his teacup and jumped up. Feng Sun rushed forward like a crazy person, but little Yuanbao stopped him. He anxiously grabbed little Yuanbao. What's going on here? Does Master Linghu want to kill little Feng Wu? Feng Sun thought that Master Linghu wanted to meet Feng Wu because he found her special in some way, and he didn't expect the master to want to kill her as soon as he met her. Little Yuanbao looked just as confused and shook his head. Still, he did his duty and blocked Feng Sun's way. Without my master's permission, no one is allowed inside. Feng Sun was exasperated. What does that old man want? Feng Sun was so agitated that he looked like an ant on a hot pan. He couldn't believe how unfortunate Feng Wu was. Why did she run into danger everywhere she went? No, I have to go to Boss June. Feng Sun knew very well that he couldn't get into the yard without Master Linghu's permission. He couldn't, but Jun Linyuan could. At that thought, Feng Sun stared at little Yuanbao. Watch this man for me. I'll go find Boss Jun. With a serious look on his face, little Yuanbao nodded. Although they had just met for the first time, little Yuanbao liked Feng Wu almost immediately. He found the big sister very likable, as if they had met in another life before this. Feng Sun moved as fast as a streak of lightning. He ran out of endless peach blossom grove and headed for the Imperial capital. Meanwhile, Feng Wu was under the greatest pressure she had ever felt. Master Linghu was so terrifying, but he hadn't moved a finger yet. Chapter 1214. A Lucky Draw? 2. 1214. A Lucky Draw? 2. Feng Wu felt as though magma was running through her veins, making her blood boil. A giant mountain seemed to have fallen on top of her, and with the magma-like sensation inside her, she nearly collapsed under the pressure. It felt like she was being ripped in half by that violent energy. It hurt. Feng Wu felt blood oozing out of her pores. As the blood left her body, so did her spiritual essence. Wretch. Feng Wu looked up and spat out a mouthful of blood. She swayed back and forth before her knees buckled, and she fell to the floor. Thump! Little Phoenix flew out and shielded her with its own body. Staring at Master Linghu, it shouted angrily, "You stupid old man! How dare you torture Xiao Wu? When I'm big enough, I'll burn you alive with my fire." Cough! Feng Wu wanted to speak, but as soon as she opened her mouth, she spat out a mouthful of blood. Without saying a word, she grabbed Little Phoenix and stuffed it into her sleeve. Master Linghu's power was so terrifying that Little Phoenix would get itself killed by talking like that. But just when Feng Wu thought that she was going to die, that tidal wave of spiritual essence vanished completely. Feng Wu looked up to see Master Linghu open his palm and unleash a strong suction force. "Arg!" Little Phoenix screamed. "Don't kill it!" Feng Wu cried out. However, the power was so strong that Feng Wu couldn't hold onto Little Phoenix. The next second, Little Phoenix was in Master Linghu's hand. Master Linghu looked at Little Phoenix with his ocean-deep eyes and studied the bird. Summoning up its courage, Little Phoenix glared at the master. "What are you looking at? I'm still too young, but when I get bigger, I'll burn you to death." Feng Wu smacked her forehead. Where did the little bird get all that courage to talk to Master Linghu like that? However, to Feng Wu's surprise, Master Linghu wasn't angry. Not only wasn't he angry, he even flicked Little Phoenix's pointy ear with an index finger. Ouch! Its ears were the bird's most sensitive part, and it shrieked when the monk flicked it. The bird then stared at Master Linghu helplessly and resentfully. The man was way too powerful for it to fight back. "Little guy, It really is you. Master Linghu released the bird, and it flew back to Feng Wu, resting on her shoulder. Those words baffled her. It really is you. Did that mean that Master Linghu had met Little Phoenix before? That couldn't be. The bird had hatched from an egg only a little while ago. Master Linghu turned to look at Feng Wu, and there was a tiny smile on his emotionless face. A smile? Master Linghu had tried to kill her only a moment ago, but he was smiling at her now. Sit. He glanced at Feng Wu. In front of him was a low, bully-wood table, on which sat a mini red clay stove. A pot of water was boiling on it. Taking a deep breath to suppress the pain, Feng Wu slowly walked over to the low table and knelt down. Since Master Linghu was way too powerful for Feng Wu to fight, her only choice was to do as she was told. Master Linghu's gaze landed on Feng Wu. The spiritual essence he had exerted just then was more than Feng Wu could handle. Anyone else would have had a physical and nervous breakdown, but the girl had proven to have a much stronger mind than a regular person. Chapter 12:15, A Lucky Draw? 3. 12:15, A Lucky Draw? 3. Her mental strength alone exceeded that of any regular person. Do you know why you're still alive? Master Linghu kept his unblinking, brooding gaze on Feng Wu, and his tone was as casual as if he was merely chatting with her. Master, why did you want to kill me? Even when she was facing one of the most powerful men in the Empire, Feng Wu was neither humble nor pushy and looked perfectly unperturbed. Master Linghu couldn't help giving Feng Wu a long look. Her temperament alone impressed him. That aplomb reminded Master Linghu of another amazing teenager. I'm not a nice person. Since I've injured you, I'll help you once in return. Master Linghu looked at Feng Wu. You may make one request. Something stirred inside Feng Wu. A favor from Master Linghu in return for an injury? If that was the deal, the people of this empire would be thrilled. Feng Wu knew better, though. Master Linghu was treating her differently, probably because of Little Phoenix. She then thought about her beautiful master. Could it be that Master Linghu knew her master as well? Feng Wu was about to ask when Master Linghu spoke again. A question counts as a favor, too. Feng Wu was speechless. Fine, the broken star piece was her top priority. As long as her master woke up, she could ask him 100 questions if she wanted to. At that thought, Feng Wu straightened her face and looked at Master Linghu. She then opened her palm, revealing a peach blossom petal. Feng Wu stared at Master Linghu, stressing each word as she spoke. I want the second broken star piece. Master Linghu's black and white face remained emotionless, but he raised a straight, black eyebrow a moment later and gave Feng Wu a half-smile. There was a knowing look in his eyes. He sounded amused when he asked, Are you sure? What was that look? Instinctively, Feng Wu felt that the master wasn't telling her everything, but she still nodded. I'm sure. It's going to be difficult. Master Linghu casually brewed some Tsuling tea and stirred the tea rhythmically with his fair hands. Feng Wu asked, How difficult? Master Linghu shook his head. It's beyond your level. You should wait until later. But how could she wait? That was only the second piece. Feng Wu gave the master a pleading look. What if I insist? Master Linghu looked sympathetic. Are you sure? Feng Wu nodded solemnly. Yes, even if you may lose your life in the process. Even if I may lose my life in the process. Even if the chance is very slim. Yes, even if that. Feng Wu said affirmatively, clenching her fists. Master Linghu shook his head. I try to save your life for the sake of the bird, but since you insist on courting death, fine. With a wave of his hand, a small roulette wheel appeared on the low table. Feng Wu was dumbfounded. What on earth was that? Taking a closer look, she saw that it was divided into 9 grids, and each grid corresponded to a line of words. She looked at the first grid, and the words inside read, Assassinate Ma Tian, the top cultivator of the flying guillotine. What? Feng Wu almost jumped out of her chair. Ma Tian, the top hitman of the flying guillotine? Jun Linyuan himself probably wouldn't be able to do that, let alone her. What kind of missions were these? Why were they so difficult? Chapter 1216, A Lucky Draw? 4. Chapter 1216, A Lucky Draw? 4. Feng Wu moved on to the second mission, which read, Steal the Imperial Jade Seal of the Kingdom of Mekong. What the heck? Feng Wu almost had a heart attack. The Kingdom of Mekong. That was an empire as powerful as the Junwu Empire. The land was swarming with capable cultivators. What kind of missions were these? Feng Wu stared at Master Linghu in disbelief and couldn't utter a word. She said, Are these all? Like all superior figures. Master Linghu replied in a casual and indifferent tone, Yes. Feng Wu almost choked. She asked Master Linghu, Are all the missions as difficult as these two? Master Linghu only glanced at the roulette wheel, indicating that Feng Wu should see for herself. Suppressing her panic, Feng Wu looked at each grid in turn. The other missions weren't as impossible, but they were still frighteningly hard. She asked, Am I going to do a lucky draw? Master Linghu said, Yes. I'll have to complete the mission that I get. Master Linghu said, Yes. What if I fail? Master Linghu said, The broken star piece will disappear forever. Feng Wu. Master Linghu said, Complete the mission and you'll have it. Feng Wu took a deep breath. So, she couldn't afford to fail the mission. The consequence would be more than she could bear. What's that? Feng Wu pointed at the 12 trials of love in the 9th grid. Feng Wu had read each of the first 8 missions and saw that they were all equally impossible for someone like her to do. The 9th mission was the only one that confused her. Based on the roulette setup, the difficulty of the missions dropped as one moved down from the first grid. So did that mean that this 9th mission was a relatively easy one? Well, that one. Master Linghu's eyebrows twitched a little when he saw that mission. Glancing at Feng Wu, he sounded very mysterious when he said, That one is a no-brainer. A no-brainer? Feng Wu's eyes lit up. Master Linghu nodded. I think that's the only one that you have a chance of completing. Feng Wu thought so as well, so she made her decision. I'll take that one. Master Linghu shook his head. That won't do. Only fate can decide what you'll draw, not me. No. Feng Wu thought to herself. This 12 trials of love is the only one I can handle. If that roulette will gives me something like stealing an Imperial seal or killing the best hitman of the flying guillotine, I'm doomed. Thus, Feng Wu held Master Linghu's arm, swayed it back and forth, and begged him. Master, please let me take that one. Master Linghu glanced at Feng Wu. Nonsense. It doesn't work like that. Feng Wu handed Little Phoenix to Master Linghu. How about I let Little Phoenix keep you company for a few days? Master Linghu said solemnly. No. Glancing at the table, Feng Wu spotted some Tsuling tea and said at once, Master, how about I make some Tsuling tea for you? I promise, it'll be as good as your own tea. Feng Wu tried her best to please Master Linghu, and the master almost surrendered to her sweet smile. Master Linghu was never close to anyone, but somehow this girl struck him as very likable. The girl was so genuine that he found her quite lovely. Are you sure you want the 9th mission? Master Linghu glanced at Feng Wu. Chapter 1217, Untitled. Chapter 1217, Untitled. Yes, I'll take it. Feng Wu looked at Master Linghu eagerly with eyes filled with longing and resolve. Then, Feng Wu watched as Master Linghu put the petal that she had been holding into the 9th grid. Feng Wu looked at Master Linghu in confusion. Master Linghu explained, It'll increase the odds. Even Master Linghu didn't realize it himself, but he was talking to Feng Wu as if the two of them had known each other for a long time. But they had only met for the first time today and had only been sitting here for less than 15 minutes. Let's start. Master Linghu gestured with his hand for Feng Wu to start. Sure. Feng Wu stared at the 12 trials of love so hard that her eyes popped. All the other missions were too difficult for her, to the point that she wanted to cry. The 12 trials of love was her only hope now. She had even begged Master Linghu for it. The roulette wheel kept spinning, so fast at first that it dazzled Feng Wu's eyes, but gradually it slowed down. As the roulette wheel slowed down, Feng Wu could see the long hand moving past each grid. The first grid, the second, the 3RD, and it kept spinning. Clenching her fists, Feng Wu kept blowing at the wheel. Master Linghu pretended that he didn't see a thing. Soon, the hand turned to the 7th grid, then the 8th. The 8th mission was to kill the young Dragon King of the Eastern Sea. That was an equally impossible task. Feng Wu blew at the roulette wheel with all her might. Soon, thud, the hand stopped on the grid that read 12 Trials of Love. Seeing that the hand had stopped on the grid she wanted, Feng Wu smiled and let out a breath of relief. Great, I made it. She didn't care if this was a real lucky draw or not anymore. The most important thing was that the hand had stopped on that grid. Feng Wu turned to Master Linghu in excitement. That counts, right? Master Linghu nodded. Of course. After that, he took out a pink bottle and gave it to Feng Wu. Feng Wu looked from the bottle to Master Linghu in bewilderment. Master Linghu said seriously, "The thing in the bottle will tell you what the 12 Trials of Love really is. Remember, the mission starts as soon as you open the bottle." Feng Wu nodded solemnly. There's more. Master Linghu glanced at Feng Wu and wanted to say something, but decided not to in the end. He waved at Feng Wu and said, "You can go now." But Feng Wu still knew nothing about the 12 Trials of Love, so she looked at Master Linghu and asked, "Who should I look for to complete this 12 Trials of Love?" Master Linghu said, "A handsome and outstanding teenage boy, of course. Otherwise, you'll only make your own life miserable." Feng Wu was dumbfounded. What was that supposed to mean? It wasn't going to be what she suspected, was it? Feng Wu wanted to ask more questions, but Master Linghu asked her to leave. A handsome and outstanding teenage boy? Feng Wu was lost in thought, wondering who she should go to. To her frustration, the first person that came to mind was Jun Lin Yuan. No, definitely not him. Feng Wu eliminated that option. What about Yu Minji? He sounded like a good candidate. However, he hadn't shown up for a while, and she had no idea where he had gone. He was so secretive. So, who did she know apart from Yu Minji? Wait, what about Feng Sun? Chapter 12:18, 12 Trials of Love. Chapter 12:18, 12 Trials of Love. Feng Sun should agree to work with her, even if some intimate actions might be involved. As her brother, he should help her. At that thought, Feng Wu made up her mind and decided that she would go to Feng Sun. She stepped out of the courtyard to find a dark shadow charging at her. The team leader of the assassins? Feng Wu's stomach lurched when she saw him. No, this person was much more powerful than that team leader and unbelievably fast. If she had to guess, he was here to save the team leader. Feng Wu was on guard and quickly shifted to one side. However, that mysterious man in black seemed to have guessed how Feng Wu would move and change direction as well. He struck at her with an open palm. Thump! It was a merciless attack. The spiritual essence swept across the grove, as though it was going to set everything on fire. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. Shit, she wouldn't be able to dodge. There were indeed more capable people in the Imperial capital than she could count. She was a level 9 spiritual grandmaster who had reached perfection at her level, but was still as easily defeated as before. Just when Feng Wu thought that she was going to be hit, something unexpected happened. A streak of black light rushed toward them at an incredible speed. Thump! When the black light reached Feng Wu, all she could see was an afterimage. The tall figure raised his right hand and smashed down at the other man's head. Thump! Just as the man in black struck at Feng Wu, the other person attacked the man in black. Instantly, the air twisted, and an endless amount of spiritual essence fluctuated violently. Little Feng Wu. Behind them, Feng Sun arrived in a flustered state. He thought his heart was going to stop when he saw that man in black attack Feng Wu. Meanwhile, Feng Wu stood there dazed, still shaken from what happened. Thanks to the timely rescue, Feng Wu wasn't severely injured, and the fist of the man in black only brushed past her cheek, leaving a tiny scratch on it. However, Feng Wu looked up at her savior. The look on her face turned very conflicted when she saw who it was. It was Jun Lin Yuan again. The last time they met, Feng Wu had kicked and slapped the guy. She thought that they would never see each other again, but as it turned out, he had saved her once more. Instantly, Feng Wu blushed and didn't know what to do. Looking down, Feng Wu saw that the bottle which Master Ling Hu had given her a moment ago had cracked. Ah! Feng Wu cried out in surprise. It was her 12 trials of love. Looking up, Feng Wu saw a faint streak of spiritual essence fly out of the bottle and take the shape of a tiny peach blossom fairy. And right now, that fairy was sitting on Jun Lingyuan's shoulder and winking at her. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Somehow, she had a very bad feeling. She was quite right. There was a buzzing sound in her ears, and the next moment, a sweet, girly voice rang out in her head. The 12 trials of love have commenced. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. When she looked for the fairy on Jun Lingyuan's shoulder again, she saw that there was only a peach blossom petal there. Where are you looking? I'm here. Here. The fairy spoke to Feng Wu in her head. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She communicated with the fairy in her mind. Who are you and what do you want? I'm warning you, don't mess with me. Chapter 1219, The First Trial 1. Chapter 1219, The First Trial 1. The fairy's face was so fair that it looked like it had been carved out of white jade. Right now, she was looking at Feng Wu with an innocent look on her face. Feng Wu said, Tell me now, what's the 12 trials of love? Master Ling Hu had kept Feng Wu guessing. So far, she only knew that it was an easy task, but not the specifics. I see. The fairy, who had been frightened by Feng Wu, returned to her senses. Blinking at Feng Wu, she said, Well, the name is pretty self-explanatory. The 12 trials of love means that the two of you will have to form ties of affection 12 times. The two of us. Feng Wu frowned. The fairy nodded, then pointed a tiny finger at none other than Jun Lingyuan himself. Feng Wu asked, What's that supposed to mean? The fairy said, The first trial starts right now. Feng Wu asked, What's the first trial? She was curious but scared at the same time. In her pretty dress, the fairy twirled in Feng Wu's mind and pointed her fairy wand at Jun Lingyuan. Her sweet voice then rang out in Feng Wu's head. The first trial, hug the host of the peach blossom. Feng Wu asked, Who's the host? The fairy almost rolled her eyes at her. That handsome, spectacular teenage boy, of course. Hey, my pretty master, where are you looking? Feng Wu asked. You mean Jun Lingyuan? The fairy nodded. Feng Wu stomped her foot. I was going to pick Feng's son. Why did it become Jun Lingyuan? The fairy cringed a little. Of course, she wouldn't tell Feng Wu that she had chosen Jun Lingyuan herself. But anyone would choose Jun Lingyuan, all right? He was handsome, talented, and powerful. The fairy wondered if there was a problem with her pretty master's eyes. The fairy cleared her throat. Well, you have yourself to blame for that. You let the bottle slip and threw me onto him. Feng Wu felt like slapping herself and was utterly depressed. The fairy prompted Feng Wu. Hey, do it. Feng Wu asked, Do what? The fairy stomped her foot. The first trial, of course. Hug your peach blossom host. The mission comes with a time limit. Feng Wu was dumbfounded. Finish this trial in the next 15 minutes, or this mission is deemed a failure. That way, the broken star piece you need will disappear forever. Feng Wu. The fairy said, Yes, just like that. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. So this was the easy mission Master Ling Hu had promised, except that it wasn't easy at all. Sensing how resentful Feng Wu was, the fairy shuddered a little, but still reminded Feng Wu, Hey, the host is leaving. Feng Wu had to finish this task in 15 minutes, and Jun Lingyuan was leaving. How frustrating. The fairy just happened to add, The hug has to last for more than 2 seconds to be deemed valid. Feng Wu said, Shut up. Covering her mouth, the fairy's big, pretty eyes darted around. Meanwhile, Feng Wu couldn't begin to vent her frustration. This was only the first trial. God knew what the rest of the 11 trials were. The thought completely baffled Feng Wu. It was like the fairy said. Jun Lingyuan acted as if Feng Wu wasn't there. He turned around in an arrogant manner and looked very resolute when he started to walk away. Quickly, the fairy reminded Feng Wu. Think about your broken star piece. Chapter 1220, The First Trial 2. Chapter 1220, The First Trial 2. The Broken Star Piece. At the thought of the broken star piece, which could save her beautiful master, Feng Wu forgot everything else and charged at Jun Linyuan like a cannonball. Thump! She bumped into Jun Linyuan's back with such great force that her nose almost bled. Closing her eyes, Feng Wu threw her arms around Jun Linyuan's lean waist. Everyone was astonished, especially Feng Sun. Right now, Feng Sun was staring unblinkingly at Feng Wu. Did little Feng Wu suddenly realize what she wants? Little Yuan Bao's eyes were wide as well. I thought His Royal Highness hated it when other people got too close. And isn't he a neat freak? Why hasn't he pushed Miss Feng away? Jun Linyuan was the most shocked of them all. He had only just quarreled with Feng Wu and was still mad at her. It was natural that he would save her again, but his pride wouldn't allow him to talk to her. But the last thing he expected was for the girl to hug him of her own accord in public. What does she want? No one noticed that the crown prince's fair earlobes had turned a light pink. Meanwhile, the peach blossom fairy reminded Feng Wu in her head. No, that's not right. You can't hug him from behind. It has to be from the front. Feng Wu already felt like burying her head in the ground, and she wanted to send the fairy flying with a smack when she heard that. She cried out in her head, "Why didn't you say so earlier?" The fairy cringed. What other choice did Feng Wu have? She had hugged him already, so what difference would it make if she threw herself into his arms? She gave in. Hence, Jun Linyuan had yet to recover from the shock when Feng Wu ran to the front and put her arms around him, burying her head in his chest so that her cheek was pressed to his body. Wait, to Feng Wu's surprise, she didn't hear a heartbeat under her ear. What she didn't know was that the crown prince was so shocked that his heart had skipped a beat. What Feng Wu cared about now was if this hug counted. If the fairy told her no, Feng Wu swore that she would throw the fairy away. The fairy sounded relieved when she said, "Great, the first trial has been completed." Before the fairy could say another word, Feng Wu ran away from Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan had been so conflicted that he clenched his fists. He was thinking whether he should hug her back when the girl dashed off. He was speechless. She didn't just dash off, she ran like she was flying. She ran all the way out of the peach blossom grove and disappeared into the distance. Jun Linyuan was speechless. He and Feng Sun exchanged looks. Ahem. The crown prince cleared his throat to cover his embarrassment. Crossing his hands behind him, he stood there looking every bit as handsome as the crown prince of an empire should look. With an amazed look on his face, little Yuan Bao said the wrong thing. "Your Royal Highness, she took advantage of you." "What are you talking about?" Feng Sun rapped the little monk's head with his knuckles. "It's only taking advantage if it's one-sided." The monk scratched his head in confusion. "I don't get it." Jun Linyuan glared at Feng Sun. "What are you talking about?" Feng Sun rubbed his nose. It seemed that Boss Jun still wouldn't admit it. They still had a long way to go. Feng Wu didn't know what happened after she left, but she could take a guess. In the empty woods, Feng Wu knocked her head against a tree. Chapter 1221, The First Trial 3. Chapter 1221, The First Trial 3. The fairy cringed. She wanted to comfort Feng Wu, but feared that she might take the brunt of Feng Wu's vexation. When Feng Wu started banging her head against a tree, the fairy finally couldn't take it anymore. "Hey, pretty master, please don't do that." The fairy had a sweet girly voice, which was quite pleasing to the ears. But Feng Wu felt as though a fire was burning inside her. Why couldn't it be Feng Sun? It would be so much easier to hug him. I can do it at any moment. Why did it have to be Jun Linyuan? Feng Wu felt like crying. The fairy rubbed her nose. She didn't dare admit that she had chosen Jun Linyuan for her pretty master because she had found the teenager so handsome. That was only the first trial, and there are 11 more to go. Feng Wu wanted to cry, but no tears would come. What are the other trials like? The fairy stammered. Well, they're mostly like this one, I think. Are you sure? The fairy raised a black cloth and took a peek at the description of the remaining trials. Instantly, her voice wasn't so confident anymore, and she said gingerly, "Well, I think so." Feng Wu waved her hand in resignation. "Sigh, I shouldn't blame you. It's just fate, I guess. I'll take it one step at a time." The fairy nodded immediately. Feng Wu asked, "When will the second trial begin?" The fairy said, "Tomorrow." Feng Wu let out a breath of relief. "Good. I can take a short break." She had a hunch that the so-called 12 Trials of Love was going to be a consecutive series of tasks that she would have to finish in one go. After that, she went back to Fallen Star Yard. Chaoga rushed up to Feng Wu as soon as she saw her. "Xiao Wu, you're back." Feng Wu nodded at Chaoga. She then sat down at her table, rested her chin on one hand, and sighed. Seeing this, Chaoga thought that Feng Wu had failed, so she sat down next to her, held her hands, and tried to console her. "Xiao Wu, don't be sad. You didn't get to meet Master Ling Hu this time, but I'm sure you'll meet him some other day. Plus, only a handful of people in the Imperial capital have met Master Ling Hu so far. It's only normal that you didn't get to meet him. Don't beat yourself up over it." Feng Wu remained silent. She wished that she had never met Master Ling Hu. All of a sudden, Feng Wu narrowed her eyes, a suspicious look in them. Wait, Master Ling Hu had astonished her at first with how reverent he appeared, before he showed her the roulette with some impossible tasks. He had then told her that the 12 Trials of Love was the easiest one, and that he was practically giving it to her. The easiest one? Like hell it is. Had Feng Wu known what the 12 Trials of Love involved, or what she had to do with Jun Lin Yuan, she would rather try stealing that Imperial seal or killing the young EC Dragon King. "Xiao Wu, what's wrong? Please tell us. We might not be able to solve your problem, but we can still offer moral support," said Chaoga. Feng Wu didn't know how to begin to describe how she felt. How was she supposed to tell the others about the 12 Trials of Love? She had no idea what to expect. What if the task required her to marry Jun Lin Yuan? Frustrated, Feng Wu smacked the table and jumped to her feet. "Xiao Wu, what's wrong?" Chaoga was a little frightened. Only then did Feng Wu return to herself. She looked up to find the others, all eyeing her with concern. She suddenly realized that she was overreacting. All these people here needed her protection, and she had to keep this family safe. The last thing she should be doing was bemoaning her fate and frightening everyone else. Chapter 1222, The Second Trial 1. Chapter 1222, The Second Trial 1. "Don't worry about it." Feng Wu waved at them with a smile. "I'll take care of it. You guys go to bed now. It's late." The night passed without incident. Feng Wu was woken up by rustling the following morning. What was that? She rubbed her forehead, feeling dazed. She had tossed and turned in bed the whole night without getting any sleep. As a result, Feng Wu felt as though she was sleepwalking when she got out of bed that morning. "Pretty master, wake up, wake up." Feng Wu heard a girl's sweet, soft voice. She woke up with a start and sat up, still clutching her duvet. Her memories only came back to her slowly after a long while. The 12 Trials of Love. Feng Wu rubbed her forehead, feeling distressed. She had a feeling that she was going to have some very tough days ahead of her. "I'll do anything to save my beautiful master." Clenching her fists, Feng Wu told herself that. The second trial starts now. The soft girly voice rang out in Feng Wu's head. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. "What is it?" The fairy paused and gave Feng Wu an awkward glance. Feng Wu said, "Just tell me. I'm ready." "All right." The fairy looked sympathetically at Feng Wu. "The second trial requires you to hold the host's hand within 2 hours and hold his hand." Feng Wu almost jumped to her feet. "Yes." Seeing how freaked out Feng Wu was, the fairy said tentatively, "And you'll have to hold his hand for at least a minute." "You." Feng Wu pointed at the fairy. "I can't do that. Please change it." Holding hands was such an intimate way of expressing one's emotions, and it felt much more significant than a hug. "I can't change it." The fairy looked innocently at Feng Wu. "You have to do it, or you can give up." Feng Wu was speechless. Of course, she knew what her two options were: proceed with the mission and she would find all the broken star pieces, but if she gave up now. Seeing that Feng Wu had lowered her head in disappointment, the fairy kindly reminded her, "Pretty master, you only have 2 hours left, and if you don't finish the trial before time is up, the mission will be considered a failure." The fairy drew an hourglass as she spoke. The sand began to fall quickly, so fast that it made Feng Wu want to scream. She only had 2 hours. Even if she wanted to hold Junlin Yuan's hand, she still had to find him first. That meant that 2 hours might not even be enough. Hence, she quickly got out of bed and prepared to go out. Qiuling entered the room to help Feng Wu get ready, but saw that the latter had already washed, changed, and made herself presentable. "Miss," Qiuling was only able to utter one word before Feng Wu waved her off. "I need to go out. It's urgent." As soon as she said that, Feng Wu ran out the room like a gust of wind. The next second, she was nowhere to be seen. "Miss, where are you going?" Qiuling called after Feng Wu. Where is she going? Should she go to the Crown Prince's residence so early in the morning? Feng Wu wasn't going to let other people know what she was up to. Hence, she didn't answer, but only waved at Qiuling. When Xiaoga arrived, all she saw was Feng Wu waving in the distance. Xiaoga asked, "What's that about? Where is Xiao Wu going so early in the morning?" Qiuling looked perplexed. "I have no idea." Chapter 1223, The Second Trial 2. Chapter 1223, The Second Trial 2. Rubbing her chin, Xiaoga said, "Is she running toward the Crown Prince's residence?" "No, she can't be. Xiao Wu can't be going to see His Royal Highness." However, to everyone's surprise, Feng Wu really was headed in Junlin Yuan's direction. The fairy would remind her of the time whenever she slowed down. The Crown Prince's residence was some distance away from the Feng Manor. Feng Wu rode as fast as she could, but it still took her some time to get there. Feng Wu hesitated when she got to the residence. As a matter of fact, the atmosphere in the residence had been rather strange since the Crown Prince got back the night before. Feng and Granny Gong sensed it more keenly than anyone else. "Is His Royal Highness still in his study?" Granny Gong arrived with a lunchbox, only to find that the lights were still on in the study. She glanced at Feng in bewilderment. "Did something happen yesterday?" Granny Gong looked perplexed. Feng was with His Royal Highness all the time, so she thought that he must know the answer. Rubbing his chin, Feng smiled a little. Granny Gong cried out, "You're smiling." Feng asked, "Am I?" Granny Gong nodded earnestly. "Yes, and it's a sneaky smile. Tell me, what's going on with His Royal Highness?" Feng gave her an unconcerned glance. "Aren't you a bit too old to gossip?" Granny Gong stepped on Feng's foot. "Hey." Feng raised his chin and smiled. "Take a wild guess." Granny Gong mumbled, "Don't tell me that Miss Feng Wu has something to do with this." Feng gave her a mysterious smile. Granny Gong frowned. "Seriously? It's really about her?" Feng glanced at Granny Gong. "I thought you liked the girl, but you don't sound so fond of her now." Granny Gong complained, "His Royal Highness likes her, and so should we. But you've seen it yourself. That girl is outrageous. She slapped His Royal Highness, and everyone cared about the children they raised." Granny Gong had been taking care of His Royal Highness since he was little, so, of course, she sympathized with him. As a result, she began to hold a grudge against Feng Wu. Feng only smiled. His Royal Highness tried to take advantage of her first. "You can't blame her." Granny Gong said, "I know that, but I just can't bring myself to see His Royal Highness mistreated. By the way, what happened yesterday? His Royal Highness has been in there the whole night and hasn't come out yet." Just then, the door was flung open. Cough! The handsome Crown Prince walked out, looking as stunning and charismatic as ever. He started walking without looking at anyone. Feng immediately followed him. Granny Gong asked, "Your Royal Highness, where are you going?" Junlin Yuan said casually, "I'm taking a walk." Feng Wu was at the back door, but Junlin Yuan left via the front gate. The two of them ended up missing each other. Feng Wu had no idea that Junlin Yuan had left and was still hesitating under the lantern hanging above the gate. Lu San was the gatekeeper at the Crown Prince's residence. This wasn't a job for just anyone, and Lu San had grown quite good at reading people. He had seen the way His Royal Highness and Granny Gong treated Feng Wu, and had learned something from it. Seeing Feng Wu wandering around while biting her fingers, Lu San hastily walked over to her. Chapter 1224, The Second Trial 3. Chapter 1224, The Second Trial 3. Miss Feng, are you here to see His Royal Highness? It's too wet out here. Would you like to wait inside? The fairy reminded Feng Wu in her head. You have 90 minutes left. Feng Wu took a deep breath and decided to face her doom. Sure. Sticking out her chest, Feng Wu marched into the Crown Prince's residence. Lu San had already sent someone to fetch Granny Gong, who was amazed to hear the news. Although she still held a grudge against Feng Wu, she knew better than to offend the girl, so she came out to greet Feng Wu herself. Granny Gong. Feng Wu smiled when she saw the old maid. However, Granny Gong looked a little awkward when she saw her today. She quickly looked away after glancing at Feng Wu resentfully. Given how sensitive Feng Wu was, she couldn't miss that. Granny Gong, did something happen? Feng Wu asked suspiciously as she took Granny Gong's arm. Granny Gong snorted and looked away. This seems quite serious, thought Feng Wu. She tried to appease the old maid. Granny Gong, have I done something to upset you? Please tell me. Don't keep it all to yourself. I won't know if you don't tell me. Granny Gong darted a look at Feng Wu. Do you really want to know? Feng Wu nodded with a smile. Yes, and if I've done something wrong, just be straight with me and tell me so. Granny Gong looked Feng Wu in the eye. In that case, please promise me that you'll be nice to His Royal Highness from now on. Don't pick on him, okay? Pick on the Crown Prince. Feng Wu was speechless. Granny Gong, is there a misunderstanding or something? How can I pick on Jun Linyuan? How would I dare? She felt so wronged. He's the most prominent cultivator of our generation. He's scheming, domineering, and powerful, and he's the crown prince that can make all government officials shudder in his presence. How can I pick on him? It's more like the other way round. Granny Gong looked disgruntled. Do any of the government officials or commoners dare shout at His Royal Highness? Feng Wu said, well. Granny Gong stared at Feng Wu. Do any of those people dare step on His Royal Highness's foot? Feng Wu said, well. The old maid was still glaring at Feng Wu. And do any of those people dare slap His Royal Highness? Feng Wu said, well, that was because Jun Linyuan. Granny Gong sighed in resignation. Do you know that you hurt His Royal Highness when you pushed him before you left? How is that possible? He's so capable. Normally, you wouldn't be able to, but His Royal Highness has yet to recover from the toxin of the decaying corpses in the water dungeon, and most of the toxin is gathered in his back. Do you have any idea how badly hurt he was when you shoved him into the table? Feng Wu asked. Are you saying he was injured? Granny Gong almost rolled her eyes. Old Master Xin Yuan was the head of one of the 9 major clans, and not someone you can simply kill. Even His Royal Highness had to pay a price. Feng Wu said, all right. Granny Gong jabbed a finger into Feng Wu's forehead. How could you mistreat him like that? Feng Wu rubbed her nose, wondering where Granny Gong got the idea that she had been mistreating Jun Linyuan. Clearly, it was the other way round. 75 minutes left. The fairy warned Feng Wu in her head. By the way, Feng Wu tugged at Granny Gong, who was still complaining. Where's His Royal Highness? So, you've come here to apologize to His Royal Highness? Granny Gong glanced at Feng Wu. Feng Wu said, yes, that's right. I'm here to make peace with him. Her eyes lit up. Chapter 1225, The Second Trial 4. Chapter 1225, The Second Trial 4. That's right. Why didn't I think of that before? I should have said that I was here to make peace with Jun Linyuan. That way, I have a proper excuse to hold his hand. Thought Feng Wu. Granny Gong, you're so lovely. Feng Wu said excitedly. Granny Gong gave Feng Wu a dirty look. Unfortunately, you're too late. What do you mean? Feng Wu was stunned. Granny Gong said, His Royal Highness went out. Feng Wu asked out, where? Granny Gong answered, His Royal Highness said he was going for a walk. I have no idea where he is now. Feng Wu. The fairy cried out in Feng Wu's head. Oh God, what are we going to do? There's not much time left. Feng Wu immediately asked Granny Gong. When did he leave? Why didn't I see him? Granny Gong said, His Royal Highness left through the front door while you came in from the back. He only just left. Feng Wu smacked her own head in frustration. Feng Wu blamed herself for waiting outside. Because of that, she had missed him. If she failed the mission because she couldn't find Jun Lin Yuan, she would cry so hard. She left Granny Gong immediately and rushed to the front gate. Outside the front gate was a wide street full of people, but Jun Lin Yuan was nowhere to be found. Feng Wu finally panicked. She hastily asked the guards where Jun Lin Yuan had gone. They told her that His Royal Highness had headed in the direction of West Boulevard. West Boulevard. Feng Wu immediately ran in that direction. However, she still didn't see Jun Lin Yuan anywhere after a long while. Feng Wu was speechless. Pretty Master, you only have 60 minutes left, the fairy reminded Feng Wu. Feng Wu looked frustrated. I know. The Feng clan, Northern Feng Mansion, Wandering Temple, and even the Imperial Palace were in that direction. So where on earth had Jun Lin Yuan gone? Isn't he supposed to be in bad shape? Why is he still wandering around? Fine, I'll go to Northern Feng Mansion first. Maybe you want to see Feng Sun. Feng Wu ran toward Northern Feng Mansion. At that hour, Lady Northern Feng was still having breakfast. She was glad to see Feng Wu and wanted the girl to eat with her. Feng Wu wasn't in the mood to eat anything. All she could think of at the moment was finding Jun Lin Yuan. She cut to the chase. Is His Royal Highness not here? The Emperor had a lot of sons, but His Royal Highness always referred to Jun Lin Yuan. Lady Northern Feng asked curiously, Are you looking for His Royal Highness? Feng Wu said, Yes. Lady Northern Feng gave Feng Wu a serious look, sat up straight, and asked, Why are you looking for His Royal Highness here? Feng Wu was speechless. Lady Northern Feng added, And why are you looking for him so early in the morning? Xiao Wu, are the two of you? Jumping to her feet, Feng Wu tried to explain. There's nothing going on between us. She might as well have admitted it herself. Lady Northern Feng looked concerned. Xiao Wu, are you infatuated with him? Feng Wu said, No, I'm not. My lady, you're mistaken. How can I be in love with someone like Jun Lin Yuan? He's the last person on earth I would fall in love with. Crash. They heard a noise outside the door. Turning around, Feng Wu saw that Feng Sun had bumped into the door plank. The sight made Feng Wu jump. For a brief moment, she thought she had seen Jun Lin Yuan. Why are you eavesdropping on us? Feng Wu berated Feng Sun. Chapter 1226, The Second Trial 5. Chapter 1226, The Second Trial 5. Feng Sun looked perfectly innocent. How can that be eavesdropping? You were so loud that we could hear you all the way from over there. Feng Wu's heart raced. We? Was someone with you? Feng Sun gave Feng Wu a meaningful look. Of course. I was with Boss Jun. Rumble. Feng Wu felt as though a thunderclap had exploded over her head so loudly that her scalp tingled. She looked dumbfounded. She stared at Lady Northern Feng in bewilderment. The lady shrugged, looking equally innocent. I had no idea that His Royal Highness was here. Feng Wu looked like she was going to cry. Today had to be the unluckiest day of her life. Everything was working against her. Where's Jun Lin Yuan now? Feng Wu returned to herself and grabbed Feng Sun's hand. Feng Sun shrugged. You were yelling that Jun Lin Yuan was the last person on earth that you would fall in love with. And you know what Boss Jun's like? Of course he stormed off. In which direction? Feng Wu was so mad that she shook Feng Sun by his shoulders. Feng Sun could have told her that Jun Lin Yuan was there. Why is this happening? Feng Sun looked so innocent. How am I supposed to know what you're thinking? I wasn't thinking of anything. I was just... Well, forget it. Just tell me which direction Jun Lin Yuan left in. East. Feng Sun pointed for her. Feng Wu threw a dirty look at Feng Sun and dashed off as fast as a streak of lightning. Left behind, Lady Northern Feng and Feng Sun exchanged looks. Lady Northern Feng looked concerned. Is Xiao Wu really in love with his Royal Highness? Feng Sun had gotten used to the idea already and retorted, "What's wrong with that?" Lady Northern Feng rolled her eyes at him. "Have you heard nothing I've told you so far? What's so good about marrying into the royal family? She'll have to compete with so many women." Feng Sun rubbed his nose. He couldn't bring himself to tell his mother that little Feng Wu already hugged Boss June in Endless Peach Blossom Grove the day before. She had hugged him from behind first, then moved to the front, and it had been a very long hug. With one look, he could tell that Feng Wu had wanted to do it. While Feng Wu was searching everywhere for June Lin Yuan in World Tower, Feng Lu was drowning herself in alcohol. The thought of Feng Wu put her in a bad mood, so she had invited a few of her girlfriends to have a drink at World Tower. Naturally, Feng Sang was among them. On the 5th floor. "I think you've had enough." Feng Sang looked at Feng Lu in resignation. "You look drunk, and this is highly inappropriate." Feng Lu waved her off. "Leave me alone. I want a drink. Let me drink." "Hey, isn't that Feng Lu?" Zhuo Qingyu and Duga Yamo were heading upstairs when they heard Feng Lu's voice from a private room on the 5th floor, and they exchanged looks. They recognized Feng Lu's voice. Feng Lu was unimportant, but she was related to Feng Wu, and that made her somewhat valuable. Hence, after exchanging looks, Zhuo Qingyu and Duga Yamo headed for that room together. They pushed the door open without knocking, and indeed, they saw the inebriated Feng Lu. Feng Lu recognized Zhuo Qingyu. "Qingyu, it's you. What a coincidence." Zhuo Qingyu smiled. "Do you mind if we sit here?" Feng Lu wanted to make friends with Zhuo Qingyu, so of course she wouldn't turn them away. Her head was still spinning when she waved at the other two girls. "No, of course not." After taking her seat, Zhuo Qingyu saw Feng Lu's flushed cheeks and feigned a concerned tone. Chapter 1227, The Second Trial 6. 1227, The Second Trial 6. She feigned a concerned voice as she asked, "Sister Feng Lu, what's wrong? Isn't it a bit too early to get drunk?" Recalling her brother's warning, Feng Sang decided to keep her guard up when dealing with Zhuo Qingyu. Her family had made up their minds to get along with Feng Wu because they would become connected to His Royal Highness through her. However, Feng Lu didn't like that verdict. Holding her bottle, she sobbed. Zhuo Qingyu acted like a good friend and asked, "What's wrong? Why are you crying? Is it because of Feng Wu?" Something clicked in Feng Lu's head at the sound of that name, and she roused a little. "What do you know it's Feng Wu?" Zhuo Qingyu gave her a knowing look. "So it really is her. I was only guessing, that's all. You know what Feng Wu's like. I bet she's all high and mighty at the moment. She has to be so arrogant." Feng Lu's face went scarlet, and her eyes shone maliciously. Zhuo Qingyu was very good at making other people do the dirty work while she hid behind scenes. Right now, Feng Lu was her new dumb pawn. That Feng Wu is unbelievable. Nothing has happened yet, but she's already acting like a peacock. Duga Yamo snorted. That was what girls were like. Regardless of what their prior relationships were like, when they had a common enemy, they would suddenly become best friends. And that was what they were now. Feng Lu was so mad that she smashed her bottle down on the table. Of course she's like a peacock. His Royal Highness carried her away in his arms. He carried her. He carried her. However, something flickered in Duga Yamo's eyes. Could it be that there's something behind all this? What are you suggesting? Feng Lu's eyes widened, and she looked excited. Duga Yamo said, "Maybe there's another reason. For instance, His Royal Highness owing Feng Wu something." "That's it." Duga Yamo smacked the table in excitement. "It has to be about the annulled marriage contract." All eyes were on Duga Yamo. She couldn't hide the excitement on her face. His Royal Highness was engaged to Feng Wu 5 years ago, but it was later annulled. His Royal Highness must feel sorry toward Feng Wu over that. She was so excited that she spoke very fast. A capable cultivator like His Royal Highness can't have anything trouble his mind. Otherwise, it can interfere with his cultivation and make him go berserk. That was why His Royal Highness hurt Old Master Xin Yuan to save Feng Wu. And that was why His Royal Highness had showed up during that duel and snatched the old man's soul. Before this, the others had believed that His Royal Highness had feelings for Feng Wu, but they saw the light when they listened to Yamo's analysis. That's right. Since when is His Royal Highness in love with Feng Wu? It has to be out of guilt for what happened before. None of them stopped to think about the possibility that Jun Linyuan would genuinely try to compensate her for what he had done. However, the girls here had convinced themselves with that excuse, and they grew excited. Feng Lu said, Does that Feng Wu really think that His Royal Highness likes her? She'll be in tears after she learns that His Royal Highness was only trying to compensate her. Yamo said, Feng Wu is too arrogant. Everyone knows it now. She'll be so humiliated when the truth is revealed. Your entire clan will be incriminated. Chapter 1228, The Second Trial 7. Chapter 1228, The Second Trial 7. Feng Sang frowned, but didn't join the conversation. His Royal Highness did all that as compensation. Feng Sang wanted to tell them that given His Royal Highness's temperament, even if he wanted to compensate someone, he would have one of his subordinates do it. Someone as prominent as he was would never do such a thing himself, let alone carry Feng Wu away. But she couldn't say anything, for if she did, they wouldn't allow her to stay. Feng Lu smacked the table in frustration. Feng Wu is so arrogant. She's crossed the line. I really hope that someone can teach her a lesson. An idea struck Yamo, and she turned to Zhuo Qingyu. By the way, Qingyu, when is your sister coming back? Needless to say, she was talking about Zhuo Qingluan. Zhuo Qingyu smiled. I don't think my sister will come back before she becomes a spiritual lord. But isn't she worried? Yamo looked at Zhuo Qingyu. Feng Wu is hitting on His Royal Highness. Zhuo Qingyu chuckled. Why are you worried? How could some girl like Feng Wu compare with my sister? She's too petty to even put my sister's shoes on for her. Feng Lu smacked the table. That's right. Feng Wu is nothing compared with Sister Qingluan. Zhuo Qingyu waved her hands and smiled. Even if Feng Wu is lucky enough for His Royal Highness to be interested in her, she'll be a concubine at most. What could she possibly do in front of my sister, His Royal Highness's official wife? The others agreed with her, but still felt jealous. It was either Feng Wu or Zhuo Qingluan. Why couldn't it be one of them? Just then, Zhuo Qingyu heard the sounds of a small commotion outside. His Royal Highness. Is His Royal Highness here at World Tower? Zhuo Qingyu was excited. Although her sister and His Royal Highness were meant for each other, no one said that a sister-in-law had to remain a sister-in-law. It would be so nice if she and her sister could marry the same person. Zhuo Qingyu had always had that fantasy, so she rushed out as soon as she heard that Jun Linyuan was here. Why did all the girls here hold so many grudges against Feng Wu? Why had they become allies? It was because of His Royal Highness, their common goal, and Feng Wu, their common enemy. Hence, Zhuo Qingyu wasn't the only one who rushed out. What about Feng Wu? What was she doing at the moment? She was so anxious. Jun Linyuan. Where is Jun Linyuan at the moment? Feng Wu had searched everywhere, including all the places Jun Linyuan liked to visit. Could he be at the Feng Manor? Feng Wu ran back to Fallen Star Yard as fast as she could. Chaoga was startled when she saw Feng Wu return. Xiao Wu, did His Royal Highness hit you? Elated, Feng Wu took Chaoga's arm. No, he didn't. Was His Royal Highness here? Chaoga nodded. Yes, he was here only just then, and stood next to the wall, looking all angry. He also kicked our wall before he left. Chaoga pointed at what was left of the wall after Jun Linyuan kicked it. That's the third time. The wall's been destroyed 3 times. The broken wall was the last thing Feng Wu cared about. Where's Jun Linyuan now? Chaoga gave her a sympathetic look. Xiao Wu, His Royal Highness was so mad and so intimidating. I don't think we should interact with him anymore. Feng Wu felt like screaming. Chapter 1229, The Second Trial 8. Chapter 1229, The Second Trial 8. She didn't want to have anything to do with Jun Linyuan, but it wasn't like she had a choice. In her head, the fairy was still reminding her in a serious tone, "Pretty master, you only have 20 minutes left." Feng Wu panicked. Seeing how eager Feng Wu was to see Jun Linyuan, Chaoga sighed inwardly. She wondered if Xiao Wu really had fallen in love with the crown prince. Chaoga felt so sorry for Feng Wu, but when she saw the anxious look in Feng Wu's eyes, Chaoga felt that she had to tell her. I remember Feng asking His Royal Highness if he wanted to go to the World Tower when they were leaving. The World Tower? Feng wanted to give Feng a big hug. He had to be the loveliest old man in the world. Without another word, Feng Wu dashed off, running as fast as a shooting arrow. Soon, she was out of sight. Biting her lip, Chaoga looked concerned. Granny Zhao and Qiuling heard the noise and came out, but they were surprised to find Chaoga alone. Qiuling said, "I thought I heard Miss Wu just then. Am I hearing things now?" Chaoga said, "No, you heard correctly." Qiuling asked, "But where's Miss Wu? Why isn't she back yet? I wonder what Miss Wu's been busy with lately. She wasn't rushing around like this before." Biting her lip, Chaoga hesitated. That was right. Xiao Wu seemed to have changed after His Royal Highness carried her out of Imperial College the other day. She said, "Is it possible that Xiao Wu is in love with His Royal Highness? She ran out earlier to look for him, and she's looking for him again." The others exchanged bewildered looks. She can't be. Feng Wu had no idea of the suspicions of the people in Fallen Star Yard. At that moment, she was running toward the World Tower as fast as her legs would take her. She was so worried that she would get there only to find Jun Linyuan gone again that she was almost in tears. Luckily, when she rushed into the World Tower, she saw that the lobby was packed. Many people were talking excitedly, saying that His Royal Highness was in the World Tower at the moment. Feng Wu heaved a sigh of relief. She quickly ran up the stairs, but was stopped by someone at the door. That was because, "Your card, please." The tone was polite, but there was something authoritative about it. Each floor of the World Tower represented a different level of social status, and one couldn't go anywhere without a card. Feng Wu frowned a little. Of the few times she had been here, no one had ever asked her for a card. Moreover, she didn't have one. Everyone fell silent, and the atmosphere suddenly turned awkward. "Hey, isn't that Miss Feng Wu?" The tone dripped with acid and was very hostile. Frowning, Feng Wu turned her head and saw that it was Zhuo Qingyu. Next to Zhuo Qingyu were a few of her old acquaintances. Feng Lu, Feng Sang, and Duga Yamo. Feng Lu sneered at Feng Wu. "Oh my, who do we have here? Why bother coming to the World Tower at all if you don't have a card?" Duga Yamo didn't expect to see Feng Wu here, let alone catch her in such an embarrassing position, and she smiled. "Miss Feng Wu, would you like to sit at our table? We're on the 5th floor." Feng Wu didn't have time for this nonsense. Her top priority now was to find Jun Linyuan. "I need to see the head of the World Tower." Feng Wu stared at the person guarding the entrance. The guard was a pretty maid, but she had a very stern look on her face. Glancing at Feng Wu, she said indifferently, "The head of the tower won't see you just because you want to." Chapter 1230, The Second Trial 9. Chapter 1230, The Second Trial 9. Hearing that, Zhuo Qingyu and the others burst out laughing. Feng Lu said, "This isn't some place you can come and go as you please. Do you think you can go upstairs? In your dreams." Zhuo Qingyu gave Feng Wu a half-smile. "Beg me, and I'll take you upstairs." Feng Sun had a car that could bring her right up to the top floor, but Feng Wu didn't have enough time to find Feng Sun, take the card, and run back. "Pretty master, you only have 5 minutes left," the fairy reminded Feng Wu. Feng Wu was speechless. The conflict between Feng Wu and the other girls had attracted a lot of onlookers, and the crowd kept growing. Feng Wu looked around and felt that this had to be her unlucky day, because apart from Zhuo Qingyu and the other girls, she couldn't see any familiar faces in the crowd. If that was the case, Feng Wu started backing away. Seeing this, the others thought that she was going to give up. They shook their heads and felt disappointed. She wasn't showing any of the tenacity from her fight with Xianyuan Yi at Imperial College. Just then, Feng Wu took a deep breath, exerted the spiritual essence in her dantian, and yelled at the top of her lungs. Jun Linyuan, come down here, right now. Wow! Feng Wu's roar exploded throughout the world tower like a thunderclap. Everyone around her stared at her like they were seeing a ghost. OMG! Feng Wu just shouted in the world tower. Is she nuts? Doesn't she know that no loud voices are allowed here in the world tower? Those who make noise here will be blacklisted. If it's really serious, they could be imprisoned for life. Does Feng Wu have a dead wish? And she just called His Royal Highness by name. Like everyone else who was staring at Feng Wu like she was crazy, Zhuo Qingyu and her friends also stared at Feng Wu with wide-open eyes as well. That was outrageous. Feng Wu had gone too far. Zhuo Qingyu flashed a malicious smile. His Royal Highness hates it when people are too arrogant and unrestrained. Feng Wu attracted his attention before with her pretty face, but after what she's just done, her good luck has just run out. What was Jun Linyuan doing at the moment? The World Tower was divided into 9 heavens, which were used by the customers, and Beyond World, which was Jun Linyuan's private space. Needless to say, he was in Beyond World now. He still remembered when Feng Wu had done some embroidery work and sewed him a little yellow duck right here in this room. Studying the ugly duck in his hands, Jun Linyuan felt perplexed. For someone as pretty as Feng Wu, how could she be so terrible at sewing? How did she turn a pair of lovebirds into little yellow ducks? The idea frustrated the Crown Prince. Recalling the words the girl had shouted in Northern Feng Mansion, Jun Linyuan was infuriated all over again. There was no warmth in his eyes, and he looked as frightening as Satan himself. Oomph. Little Feng Wu, stop running around in my head. Aren't you tired? Outside, Feng cleared his throat, but fell silent almost immediately. He didn't want the Crown Prince to know that he had hurt him. The Crown Prince stood by the window. From behind, he cut a tall, slender figure, and the well-fitting robe only accentuated his charisma. He reminded one of an immortal who had been banished to the mortal world. But right now he was... Chapter 1231, The Second Trial 10. 1231, The Second Trial 10. However, Jun Linyuan, the ethereal beauty, was holding an ugly yellow duck in his hands and thinking about throwing it away. It had to be the ugliest needlework he had seen in his life, so ugly that it was an insult to his taste. Who would want to keep such a thing around? However, just as he was about to loosen his grip, he gripped it in his hand again. Well, it's still a usable pouch, and I have some silver in it. It'll be such a waste to throw it away. The Crown Prince slowly tied the yellow duck pouch onto his belt again. Feng might be guarding the entrance outside, but the door was open, so he could see everything the Crown Prince was doing. Feng shook his head and smiled in resignation. For a cultivator, falling in love could be the greatest trial they had to go through. By the looks of it, the Crown Prince himself didn't know that he was in love with the girl. The Crown Prince said decisively, "Little Feng Wu, just wait and see." No one would believe that the unapproachable Crown Prince could have such a childish side. But Feng was used to it. Ever since Feng Wu showed up, this state had become the Crown Prince's new norm. While Jun Linyuan was playing out his one-man show on the top floor, he heard the roar outside. Jun Linyuan, come down here, right now. That voice, even Feng, who thought he had seen everything, couldn't help but jump a little. A hush fell over the room. Feng reminded the Crown Prince, "Your Royal Highness, I think that's little Feng Wu." Jun Linyuan was about to rush out of the room, but he smirked when he heard Feng. "Kick her out." Feng was speechless. The Crown Prince glared at him. "Do I need to repeat myself?" Feng rubbed his nose and mumbled, "I wonder how aggrieved Miss Wu must be to cry for help in public like this." Jun Linyuan asked, "Are you telling me she's crying for help?" He thought that she was challenging him. Feng said, "Yes, she is. Otherwise, why didn't Miss Wu call for young Lord Feng or young Lord Xian but you? It means that your Royal Highness is the most important person to her." Jun Linyuan's face had been livid just a moment ago, but now he looked embarrassed. Flipping his sleeves, he snorted. Crying for help? Can't she walk? Why doesn't she come up here herself? Feng murmured to himself. If I remember correctly, Miss Wu doesn't have a VIP card. She can't even get to the second floor, let alone up here. Jun Linyuan was speechless. Feng went on. And your Royal Highness set the rule yourself. Making loud noises in the World Tower is punishable by life in prison. Why is it so quiet now? Have they taken Miss Wu away? Jun Linyuan didn't know what to say. Feng said, right, Your Royal Highness, did you tell me to kick Miss Wu out? I'm on it. Wait. Jun Linyuan rolled his eyes at Feng. Bring her to me. However, a team of Imperial guards in black armor had appeared on the first floor of the Nine Heavens. It was common knowledge that the Crown Prince's Imperial guards were in charge of security at World Tower. 10 guards surrounded Feng Wu. The girl who had asked for Feng Wu's card was called Haiwei. She had summoned the Imperial guards. Pointing at Feng Wu, she said arrogantly, This woman is disturbing the peace of the World Tower. Take her down. Haiwei was new here and didn't know about what happened last time. Chapter 1232, The Second Trial 11. Chapter 1232, The Second Trial 11. This team of Imperial guards hadn't been here then either. They took what was happening here to be just another regular incident. So 2 team members stepped out and lunged at Feng Wu. Feng Wu looked anxious. If the Imperial guard arrested her, then... Pretty Master, you only have 3 minutes left. The fairy had been quite at ease earlier, but she had grown anxious as well, and hastily gave Feng Wu the reminder. Watching you smirked and gave Feng Wu a contemptuous look. She wasn't the only one laughing at Feng Wu. Du Guillermo and Feng Lu were also gloating. Wait, there came a cold voice. All heads turned in that direction. Miss Yu, Lu Yu, the head of the tower, was hastily coming their way. It seemed that no one would leave her in peace. She had received the news just as she was about to go into seclusion and had to rush over. Miss Wu, Lu Yu beamed at Feng Wu. Chief, Haiwei greeted Lu Yu. Lu Yu cast a stern look at her and narrowed her eyes. What's going on here? Why didn't you treat Miss Wu properly? What were you thinking? Haiwei's stomach lurched. Because she was new here, she had no idea of all the complicated relationships that existed, not to mention the fact that Zhuo Qingyu had given her an East Sea blue pearl earlier. And so, Chief, Miss Feng Wu here doesn't have a card, and it's against our rules. Lu Yu cut her off. Miss Feng Wu here is an exception. Lu Yu knew who Feng Wu was better than anyone. Lu Yun, her predecessor, had been removed from her post because she had offended Feng Wu, and Lu Yu didn't want to go down that same road. Thinking that, Lu Yu smiled at Feng Wu. Miss Wu, which floor would you like to go to? Feng Wu said, I need to see Jun Linyuan. Well, Lu Yu smiled. His Royal Highness is indeed in Beyond World at the moment, but, Miss Feng, please wait here while I report to His Royal Highness. Everyone stared at Lu Yu in disbelief. Lu Yu was the head of the World Tower, and almost all high-ranking officials wanted to be on friendly terms with her. Most of the time, however, she seemed rather unapproachable. But now she was so nice to Feng Wu. She had even said, please. So Feng Wu, instantly, many people's opinion of Feng Wu started to change. However, Lu Yu had yet to leave when she heard a sarcastic voice. Oh my, I was wondering who it could be. Isn't this Miss Feng Wu, who impressed everyone in Imperial College? Who was that? Feng Wu looked up to see a majestic middle-aged man. He wore a brocade robe and had an authoritative demeanor, but there was something very cold about him. The look he gave Feng Wu was devoid of warmth. He was, Father, Zhuo Qingyu was glad to see Zhuo Ming here. She rushed over to him and took his arm. With Zhuo Ming's current position and capability, he was able to enter the 8th floor. He had just finished a meal and was walking down the stairs. He wasn't alone, but was followed by several officials. Only people as influential as Zhuo Ming himself would eat at the same table, and these few here were all well-known figures in the empire. Chapter 1233, Feng Wu in Danger. 12:33 Feng Wu in danger. Something cold flashed in Zhuo Ming's eyes when he saw Feng Wu. Feng Wu narrowed her eyes as well. She would never forget that 5 years ago, Zhuo Ming was the one who led the team of attackers, captured her, and made it possible for Zhuo Qingwan to destroy her true phoenix blood. While Feng Wu was frustrated that her true phoenix blood had been destroyed, it was her beautiful master falling into a prolonged state of dormancy after saving her, which Feng Wu couldn't tolerate. Thus, she was overwhelmed with hatred when she spotted Zhuo Ming. Lu Yu didn't expect to run into Zhuo Ming here either and looked nonplussed for a moment. However, she soon regained her composure. Master Zhuo, what a pleasant surprise. Come to think of it, Lu Yu wasn't that much inferior to Zhuo Ming in terms of social status. Zhuo Ming gave Lu Yu a half-smile. Chief Lu, shouldn't you take this more seriously? Lu Yu frowned a little. Master Zhuo, what's that supposed to mean? Zhuo Ming pointed at Feng Wu. This girl has made so much noise. If you don't punish her, the rules of your tower will be a joke. Aren't you worried that other people will copy her? So, the man was accusing her of being unjust. Lu Yu was displeased, but still smiled. Master Zhuo, if you finish your meal, please leave. This is the World Tower's business. I can take care of it myself. Lu Yu had some idea of the Crown Prince's feelings for Feng Wu, but it was supposed to be a secret, and she wasn't going to tell anyone else about it. Zhuo Ming didn't expect to hear such a reply from Lu Yu, and his face darkened. He had thought that with his influence, he could ruin Feng Wu with a few words. Lu Yu's rejection only made Zhuo Ming feel humiliated, and he smirked. How about I take care of it for you, Chief Lu? As he spoke, he walked up to Feng Wu. He looked into Feng Wu's brooding eyes. As soon as their eyes met, Zhuo Ming felt his stomach turn. The girl's eyes were so bright that they reminded him of the brightest stars that could reveal one's darkest secrets. This girl, Zhuo Ming's stomach lurched, and he wanted to throttle the girl right there and then. And that was exactly what he did. Zhuo Ming reached out and grabbed Feng Wu by her neck. Lu Yu's face darkened as she tried to intervene. What are you doing? Leave her alone. It happened so suddenly that everyone stared at Zhuo Ming in disbelief. How merciless. They also recalled that Feng Wu and Zhuo Qingwan used to be compared with each other since they were little. Now that Feng Wu had risen again, did Master Zhuo feel threatened? At that thought, many people looked at Feng Wu sympathetically. The Feng clan had declined, so if the Zhuo family decided to get rid of Feng Wu, she wouldn't stand a chance. Lu Yu was slightly weaker in her cultivation capability and didn't dare confront Zhuo Ming. Zhuo Ming's left hand was already on Feng Wu's throat. He then lifted Feng Wu off the ground, and her legs dangled in the air. Suffocated, Feng Wu felt her vision go dark and was full of despair. Damn it, she clenched her fists. The Zhuo family almost killed her 5 years ago. 5 years later, Zhuo Ming was trying to kill her in public. Feng Wu swore to herself that one day she would kill Zhuo Ming herself and wipe the Zhuo clan off the face of the earth. Chapter 1234. Hold your hand. 1234. Hold your hand. Master Zhuo, please release Miss Feng Wu, or you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Lu Yu couldn't stop Zhuo Ming and could only warn him. Zhuo Ming grinned maliciously. His sharp gaze was locked on Feng Wu, and his fingers wrapped tighter around her neck. If he could, he would like to kill Feng Wu now. Master Zhuo, a cold voice rang out from the stairs. To the other people in the room, the voice was like an earth-shattering explosion. They turned around in unison and were astonished when they saw the person standing on the stairs. It was Feng, the Crown Prince's steward. Zhuo Ming frowned a little when he saw Feng, and realized that he wasn't going to kill Feng Wu today. What was more, he had never planned to kill Feng Wu in public. There was more than one way to take her out in some dark alley. At that thought, Zhuo Ming laughed and let go of Feng Wu. Feng Wu could finally breathe freely again, and she gasped for air. Zhuo Ming shot her a warning glance. The look in his eyes reminded her of an alpha wolf. Behave yourself from now on. After that, Ming turned to leave, putting his right hand behind his back. The entire time, he didn't even look at Feng. As the head of his Wu family, he had his pride. Feng Wu's face was a purplish-blue color before it turned scarlet red, and she clenched her fists. Ming, you've gone too far. She swore that she would one day make the man pay for everything he had done to her. Taking a deep breath, Feng Wu suppressed her frustration and looked at Feng. I need to see Jun Linyuan. Right now. That was such a commanding tone. Everyone eyed Feng Wu in astonishment. To their surprise, Feng said, His Royal Highness will see you now. Miss Wu, please follow me. His Royal Highness had agreed to see Feng Wu. Everyone was shocked, especially Zhuo Qingyu and Dugu Yamo. The two of them exchanged looks, and both saw hatred in each other's eyes. Feng Wu didn't wait, because she didn't have any time to waste. Pretty Master, you only have 30 seconds left. The fairy, who had kept her silence, finally cried out. Feng Wu couldn't care about what other people thought anymore, and ran up the stairs as fast as she could. Thump, thump, thump. She reached Beyond World in no time. The Crown Prince was sitting casually at the table. A red clay stove was on the low table, and some water was boiling in the kettle on top of it. Looking up, he saw the anxious look on Feng Wu's face. Anxious? This girl. Before the Crown Prince could figure out what was going on, Feng Wu jumped at him and caught his hand. Astonished, the Crown Prince drew back his hand. The fairy cried out, Pretty Master, you only have 10 seconds left. Feng Wu's heart was beating so fast that she thought it was going to jump out her throat. She tried to take Jun Linyuan's hand as though she was catching a butterfly, but the first thing he noticed was her neck. What happened? His face turned livid when he saw the distinctive finger marks on her neck. His eyes were like two black pools, and he gave off an intimidating energy. The look in his eyes reminded Feng Wu of a sharp blade when he caressed her throat. Feng Wu felt a cold sensation on her throat, but the only thing she could think of now was to hold Jun Linyuan's hand. Hence, she immediately reached for her own neck. Chapter 1235, Ungrateful Girl. Chapter 1235, Ungrateful Girl. However, before she could touch Jun Linyuan's hand, he caught her chin and forced her to look up. Staring at her, he said, Answer me. Feng Wu almost burst into tears. Can you stop moving? I only have a few seconds left. The thought of failing the second trial frightened Feng Wu. If that happened, she wouldn't know where to find her broken star piece. With a ferocious look on his face, the Crown Prince looked like the god of death. Speak. Before Feng Wu could answer, Feng spoke from outside the door. It was Master's was doing. Jun Linyuan let go of Feng Wu and rushed toward the door. He moved as fast as a shooting star. Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu bellowed, pounced at Jun Linyuan, and jumped onto his back. It was never too late to take revenge, but right now, she really needed to hold his hand. 5 seconds left. 5, 4, 3. Don't go. Feng Wu held Jun Linyuan's hand, so tight that it almost frightened him. Jun Linyuan was furious and was going to kill the culprit, but he felt much calmer after Feng Wu took his hand. Ming, how dare he? The Crown Prince wanted to draw back his hand and caress Feng Wu's neck. Gosh, don't move. Feng Wu felt like crying. Jun Linyuan didn't know what to say. 10, 9, 8, 7. Time ticked by, and Feng Wu was flustered the entire time, fearing that Jun Linyuan would take his hand back. Luckily, Jun Linyuan stood there dazed till the end as he stared at her in bewilderment. He looked down at the pretty girl. Her forehead was covered in a thin layer of sweat. Both the rims of her eyes and the tip of her nose were red, and he could clearly make out the swollen handprint on her neck. The girl had gone through so much, but she wouldn't tell him what happened and only wanted to hold his hand. Jun Linyuan frowned. Before he knew it, he began to feel sorry for the stubborn girl. After the hug and the hand-holding today, he was fully convinced that the girl had feelings for him. Silly girl. The Crown Prince was about to rub Feng Wu's head when she abruptly let go of his hand and stumbled back until she was around 3 meters away from him. June Linyuan frowned a little and stared at Feng Wu. Finally, the second trial was completed. Feng Wu let out a breath of relief and wiped away her sweat. You. June Linyuan reached out for Feng Wu, but her attitude had completely changed. She took another step back and looked very alarmed. June Linyuan was speechless. She was the one who had been trying to hold his hand, but she was doing all she could to avoid him now. This sudden change almost drove June Linyuan crazy. Get over here. June Linyuan glared at Feng Wu. Since she no longer needed anything from June Linyuan, Feng Wu wouldn't go near him. She grinned. Your Royal Highness, I'm sure you have a lot of important work to do. Please don't let me keep you. See you. With a wave of her hand, Feng Wu was going to leave. The look on June Linyuan's face turned grim immediately, and his eyes reminded one of an imminent storm. Little Feng Wu, get over here. She had been all over him a moment ago, but was acting like a total stranger now. How incredible. Feng Wu smiled awkwardly, then turned to run. It was now or never. Instead of taking the door, Feng Wu jumped out the window at an unbelievable speed. Chapter 1236, The Third Trial 1. Chapter 1236, The Third Trial 1. However, the fairy's voice rang out in her ears just as Feng Wu was about to jump out. Pretty Master, the third trial has just started. What? Feng Wu almost couldn't stop herself in time. The third trial? Already? Feng Wu felt frustrated. Tell me what it is, then. The fairy rubbed her forehead. Well, Feng Wu said, just tell me. The fairy hesitated again. Feng Wu had a bad feeling. Stop with the HM. Tell me already. She was so anxious. It was only the third trial, so how hard could it be? After much hesitation, the fairy finally said, well, the third trial is to make His Royal Highness play upsy-daisy with you. Her voice trailed off in the end, and Feng Wu didn't hear the last bit. To make him what? The fairy glanced at Feng Wu timidly, buried her face in her hands, and said hesitantly, His Royal Highness has to play upsy-daisy with you. What? Feng Wu blushed, and her mind went blank. Upsy-daisy? Feng Wu swallowed and asked in disbelief. Yes, that. And it has to be completed in the next hour, or else. You know the drill, the fairy warned Feng Wu. Feng Wu cried out, an hour? The fairy nodded solemnly. Yes, an hour. Feng Wu was almost in tears. That's impossible. I only just ran away from June Linyuan, and you're asking me to go back and do that? The fairy gave her a sympathetic look, then said grumpily, Did I tell you to run away so soon? Feng Wu was speechless. The fairy stared at Feng Wu. Don't just stand there, go get it done. What other choice did Feng Wu have? The 12 Trials of Love was like a time bomb hanging over her head, and she had no idea when it would go off. Feng Wu slowly headed back to the room, her shoulders drooping. Feng stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. Before, Miss would have been long gone by now. This was the first time she had ever doubled back. June Linyuan was sitting right inside the room, so of course he knew that Feng Wu had come back. But he was still mad for what happened earlier. He sat proudly in the armchair, his layered robes hanging over the sides like white clouds. There was no warmth in his eyes, only rage and ferocity. Seeing that Feng Wu was slowly making her way back, Feng found what was going to happen very promising. So, as considerate as ever, Feng left the room and carefully closed the door behind him. Feng Wu gave him a big thumbs up in her head. She couldn't bring herself to make the request if Feng were around. It was simply too humiliating. But she didn't have a choice now. Feng Wu inched toward June Linyuan like a penguin, and it took her forever to reach him. She gave June Linyuan a pleading look. The crown prince didn't look away from the book and acted as if Feng Wu wasn't there. Biting her lip, Feng Wu lowered her head. It seemed that June Linyuan was really angry with her. June Linyuan's profile was unbelievably handsome. He had well-defined features, dark eyebrows, a straight nose, and thin red lips. His jawline gave him such a noble look. Up close, his beauty was breathtaking. Chapter 1237, The Third Trial 2. Chapter 1237, The Third Trial 2. His robe was slightly open at the neck, revealing his delicate collarbones, and his fingers were fair and slender. He was breathtakingly beautiful, down to the very last detail. Seeing that Feng Wu was infatuated by his beauty, the fairy reminded her, "Hey, pretty master, stop drooling. The clock's ticking." Huh? Feng Wu wiped her mouth involuntarily, and only then did she realize that the fairy had tricked her. She couldn't help but roll her eyes at the fairy in her mind. The fairy gave her an innocent look. "You've been staring at the handsome teenager for 10 minutes. Aren't you ashamed?" Feng Wu blushed and gave the fairy a dirty look. The most important thing now was Feng Wu inched closer until she was within Jun Linyuan's reach. Sticking out a fair hand from under her sleeve, she tentatively tugged at his sleeve. She was so careful that he could barely feel it. With a solemn look on his face, the crown prince kept his eyes on his book, as though he were a king reading the memorials to the throne. A man focused on his work was indeed very attractive, but Feng Wu needed his attention right now. "Your Royal Highness? Your Royal Highness?" Seeing that her tugging was to no avail, Feng Wu pulled a little harder. But Jun Linyuan flipped his sleeve and leaned to the other side. He moved away from Feng Wu. Feng Wu said, she wondered if it was a rejection. Feng Wu felt frustrated and humiliated, for he had just shut her down. On any other day, she would have stormed off by now. She had her own dignity. But the fairy reminded her, just in time, "Pretty master, you don't have much time left. Please hurry up." Before, Feng Wu would have been long gone when Jun Linyuan gave her attitude. But now, she gave Jun Linyuan a resentful look. With a broken star piece was concerned, her dignity was nothing. Hence, Feng Wu inched toward Jun Linyuan again. The crown prince was still holding the book and never looked away from it. He seemed to be completely absorbed. Feng Wu slowly reached out and tugged at his belt. It was a belt embroidered with giant snakes in dark gold thread, and no one else would dare touch it. She tugged on it, but he didn't respond. Biting her lower lip, Feng Wu reached out and tugged again. The corners of the crown prince's eyes twitched a little, and he raised his straight eyebrows. "What do you want?" Jun Linyuan glanced at Feng Wu, looking like a proud peacock. "How cold?" He acted as though they were complete strangers. Clenching her fists, Feng Wu gritted her teeth. However, she couldn't let it show, because she still needed his help. She then forced herself to smile. It was a perfect smile with 8 white teeth, and her eyes were 2 pretty crescent moons. However, the crown prince looked impatient. He glanced at Feng Wu before he went back to his book. Feng Wu grumbled inwardly. What a pretentious man. She knew that Jun Linyuan still held a grudge against her for what happened earlier, so she fetched a chair and sat down next to him. But he still wouldn't look at her. Thus, Feng Wu reached out and took away Jun Linyuan's book. Chapter 1238, The Third Trial 3. Chapter 1238, The Third Trial 3. The crown prince narrowed his eyes and stared at Feng Wu in an intimidating manner. Feng Wu returned that ferocious look with her brightest smile. Her smile already looked like the most brilliant spring flower. No one could bring themselves to hurt her when they saw it, let alone Jun Linyuan, who was in love with her. The smile made his heart skip a beat, but he kept his face expressionless when he stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu grinned. "Your Royal Highness, look, aren't I prettier than your book? This girl, TCH." The crown prince rolled his eyes at her. The girl could be as hot as fire at times, but colder than ice the next moment. Jun Linyuan almost thought that she was split into 2 different individuals. Feng Wu looked at him with her bright eyes and tugged at his sleeve. "Your Royal Highness, I mean it. Please look at me." Jun Linyuan didn't know what to say. When it came to sweet talk, this girl was better than 10 Zhuo Qingluans put together. "What do you need from me this time?" Jun Linyuan knew that the girl had to be here for a reason. Feng Wu rubbed her chin. "Well, Your Royal Highness, Are you going to help me regardless of what I ask you to do? Jun Linyuan smiled indifferently. What do you think? Feng Wu snorted inwardly. She realized that Jun Linyuan had put up his guard and was no longer that easily fooled. Your Royal Highness, look. Feng Wu pointed at the ceiling, where a bird had flown in without them noticing. She looked pleasantly surprised. Your Royal Highness, I'm too short to catch it. How about you? Meanwhile, little Phoenix, who had disguised itself as a common bird, shouted inwardly, My dear young master, that's such a lame excuse. The bird was right. The Crown Prince moved his fingers even before Feng Wu finished talking. His long, fair fingers seemed to have magic. Before Feng Wu realized it, little Phoenix was in his hand. The bird was smaller than a fist and fit perfectly in Jun Linyuan's palm. Holding the bird, Jun Linyuan raised his eyebrows and glanced at Feng Wu indifferently. Does it run away from you a lot? Feng Wu said, Yes. The Crown Prince said, And you can't catch it. Feng Wu said, Yes. Jun Linyuan narrowed his eyes and said slowly, Then what good is it? I'll just kill it. Little Phoenix was already frightened in Jun Linyuan's hand, and those words almost made its heart jump out of its throat. The bird was almost in tears. Feng Wu caught Jun Linyuan's hand immediately. Your Royal Highness, please don't. There was something cold in Jun Linyuan's voice when he said, Did you just call me your Royal Highness? Feng Wu said, I mean, Brother Jun, let's just set it free. We should always have mercy. Jun Linyuan looked as beautiful as ever when he heaved a sigh. I can clip its wings. That way, it'll never escape again. After that, he actually picked up little Phoenix's delicate wings. Oh no, Feng Wu was almost in tears. Holding Jun Linyuan's sleeve, she said hastily, Brother Jun, let's talk like civilized people, all right? Jun Linyuan finally gave little Phoenix back to Feng Wu after much pleading. Feng Wu held the bird with both hands. The little thing had curled up and was trembling from an instinctive fear of Jun Linyuan. Chapter 1239, The Third Trial 4. Chapter 1239, The Third Trial 4. Little Phoenix stuck its head in Feng Wu's arms as soon as Feng Wu took it back. The next second, it had run back into the ring. I was so frightened. The bird patted its chest and gasped for air after it sat down in the ring. It had been that close to losing its life. Outside, Feng Wu stared resentfully at Jun Linyuan. Scratching her head, she felt frustrated. What would it take to make Jun Linyuan lift her up? That was so difficult. Patting her head, Feng Wu frowned and buried her face in her hands. She couldn't stop sighing. The Crown Prince went on reading, as though Feng Wu wasn't there. The fairy was so anxious and kept prompting Feng Wu. Pretty master, you don't have much time left. 30 minutes have passed already. Feng Wu cried out inwardly, What? Already? The fairy said, You stared at His Royal Highness for too long and wasted a lot of time. Feng Wu said, I did not. The fairy thought to herself, Yes, you so did. But that's understandable. I was infatuated to... Feng Wu was racking her brain for a solution when she heard footsteps outside. Footsteps? Was someone here? Feng Wu didn't like that idea. She couldn't make the request when they were alone, and if there was a third person in the room, Feng Wu knew that she would never be able to speak those words. She tried to convince herself that Jun Linyuan had always preferred to be left alone, so he might not let any visitor in. But the footsteps were getting so close that Feng Wu could tell who the visitors were. Soon, she heard a cheerful voice outside. Boss Jun, Boss Jun. It was none other than Feng Sun himself. Feng Wu had an ominous feeling, and she was right to feel that way, for Feng Sun wasn't alone when he came in. He was with him. Damn it, Feng Wu was dumbfounded. She could show her weakness to Jun Linyuan and butter him up when they were alone, but now... Feng Wu smacked her forehead. Not good. Feng Sun was too much of a disturbance. Hence, Feng Wu rose to her feet and grabbed Feng Sun's hand. Brother, His Royal Highness is reading. You'll be disturbing him. So please, just go. I'm begging you, thought Feng Wu. Is Boss Jun reading? Feng Sun looked up to see that Jun Linyuan had put the book down. However, something clicked in his head when he saw how anxious Feng Wu looked. So, the girl had finally admitted her feelings and wanted to spend some time alone with Jun Linyuan. The thought made Feng Sun chuckle. Leaning closer, he grinned and asked in a whisper, "You want to be left alone with Boss Jun, don't you?" Feng Wu couldn't deny it. So she nodded. Feng Sun flicked Feng Wu's smooth forehead and flashed her a mischievous smile. "Oh my, you really are." Cough. Next to him, he tugged his sleeve in warning. Feng Sun looked up to see Boss Jun's expressionless face and the cold look in his eyes. Rubbing his chin, Feng Sun shuddered a little and said immediately, "Please go back to whatever you were doing." Chapter 1240, The Third Trial 5. Chapter 1240, The Third Trial 5. After that, Feng Sun and you were going to leave. Feng Wu was secretly relieved. Luckily, Feng Sun knew how to act and win, otherwise she didn't know how she was going to finish the third trial. However, Feng Sun had just turned around when the Crown Prince snorted. "Are you leaving already?" "Wait." Turning around, Feng Sun looked suspiciously from Feng Wu to Jun Linyuan and realized that something wasn't right between the two of them. The Crown Prince grumbled, "Sit down." Feng Sun said, "All right." After that, the Crown Prince actually started talking to Feng Sun and discussing everything from famous cultivators and influential families to state affairs and border defense. They let their thoughts run freely, but most of the time, Feng Sun did all the talking while the Crown Prince listened. Every now and then, the Crown Prince would give his opinion in a few words. But every sentence he said was to the point and would enlighten Feng Sun. Feng Wu didn't pay much attention to their conversation. All she could think of now was figuring out a way to make Jun Linyuan lift her up. She looked resentfully at Jun Linyuan and wondered if the guy was doing this on purpose. He was such a smart person. So could he have guessed her purpose? Seeing that the conversation seemed to go on forever, Feng Wu couldn't sit still anymore. As a matter of fact, Feng Sun couldn't either. Boss Jun wasn't usually this talkative, and today he seemed to be actively looking for things to talk about. Moreover, Feng Sun hadn't thought about many of the questions Jun Linyuan asked and was only saying the first things that came into his head. He felt so embarrassed when Boss Jun pointed out the problems in what he said. Feng Sun wanted to smack his own head. Of all the places he could go, why did he have to come here? The atmosphere felt rather strange. Feng Sun and exchanged bewildered looks. They began to talk with their eyes. Feng Sun asked, "What's going on between them?" Said, "I don't know." Feng Sun said, "Somehow, I have a feeling that I'm being used by Boss Jun." Said, "That's true." Feng Sun asked, "Can we run?" Asked, "Do you dare?" Feng Sun was speechless. Feng Wu was getting more and more anxious at the fairy's hasty reminders. "Pretty master, you're running out of time. You only have 10 minutes left." Feng Wu took a deep breath. There were only 10 minutes left, and if she didn't hurry up, she would have to rush to finish the task like before. She clenched her fists so tightly that her knuckles went white before she put on her brightest smile. Feng Wu knew perfectly well that neither Feng Sun nor could change the situation. Jun Linyuan was the only one that could call the shots. Thus, she had to beg Jun Linyuan, not anyone else. At that thought, Feng Wu slowly walked up to Jun Linyuan and tugged at his sleeve. "Brother Jun, you guys must be tired from all the talking. Would you like to take a break?" "Brother Jun." Feng Sun almost choked when he heard that. Since when were these two people on such friendly terms? Zhuo Qingwan and Dugayamo all called him Brother Jun, but the same words sounded off coming from Feng Wu's mouth. Even he got goosebumps when he heard it, let alone Feng Sun. Chapter 1241, The Third Trial 6. Chapter 1241, The Third Trial 6. Did Feng Wu not know that? Of course she did, but for her broken star piece, she had to become an award-winning actress. Brother June. Tugging at Jun Linyuan's sleeve, she batted her eyelashes at him, her big bright eyes reminding him of a deer. With her soft voice and the innocent look in her eyes, anyone would offer her all their sympathy. Even Feng Sun couldn't help but feel pity for her, let alone Jun Linyuan. In his head, Xian Yi gave Feng Wu the thumbs up. He was amazed by the girl. She could adapt to any circumstance. Not only was she irresistibly sweet, she was also smart and talented. No wonder even the crown prince had fallen for her. Since his buddies were around, the crown prince naturally maintained his arrogant demeanor. Glancing at Feng Wu, he drew back his sleeve. Don't try to butter me up. He looked impatient. Any other girl would have burst into tears and run away by now. But Feng Wu was no ordinary girl. Biting her lip, she gave Jun Linyuan an aggrieved look before lowering her head and nodding reluctantly. With her pleading tone and her unmatched beauty, no man could remain indifferent to that. The crown prince rubbed his chin, and for the very first time, he asked himself, am I being too harsh to the girl? Somehow, the tears in her eyes made him feel a little guilty. Feng Wu bit her lower lip and remained silent. A hush fell over the room. Hey! Jun Linyuan glanced at Feng Wu. He knew that the girl could be such a good actress, and wouldn't believe that someone as heartless as her could get upset so easily. However, when he saw that tears had welled up in her eyes, he felt tormented. What do you want? He glared at Feng Wu. Raising her head, Feng Wu looked at Jun Linyuan with sparkling eyes. Are you going to give me whatever I want? The crown prince glanced at Feng Wu. Feng Wu went silent. All right, I knew it wouldn't be that easy. Then an idea struck her. I have a suggestion. What? All eyes were on her. Feng Wu said happily, since the four of us are all here, how about we play a game? Feng Sun touched her forehead. Do you have a fever? Feng Wu threw a dirty look at him and brushed off his hand. Let's play a game that you've never heard of before. What game? Feng Sun was intrigued. Feng Wu said, it's called Truth or Dare. Have you heard of it before? The rules are quite simple. The name is self-explanatory. Truth or Dare. Feng Wu's plan was quite straightforward. She was going to force Jun Linyuan to choose Dare and give him a difficult task. She winked at Feng Sun as she spoke, asking for his help. Luckily, Feng Sun wasn't hopeless. He took the hint as soon as Feng Wu's eyelid twitched. Although he didn't know what her plan was, since he was her brother, he had to help her unconditionally. Rubbing his chin, Feng Sun said, Truth or Dare? I haven't heard of it before. Feng Wu said, let's play rock, paper, and scissors first, and the loser has to choose between truth and dare. If they choose truth, they must tell the truth. If they choose dare, they can't back out. Otherwise, Chapter 1242, The Final Round 1. 1242, The Final Round 1. Feng Wu grinned at the other three. The one who backs out will look like such a loser, Feng Sun said. That sounds quite interesting. Little Feng Wu, you're going to tell us all your secrets. Feng Wu said proudly, no, I won't. I'll definitely be the winner. But it was no use that Feng Sun was intrigued. Jun Linyuan was the one who called the shots here. Brother Jun. Tugging at Jun Linyuan's robe, Feng Wu eyed him eagerly. Xian Yi's gaze was fixed on her hand. Boss Jun might seem indifferent to Feng Wu, but he was in fact being extremely nice. No other girl would dare come within a meter of Jun Linyuan, let alone touch his sleeve. Boss Jun is going to say yes, thought Xian Yi and Feng Sun as they exchanged looks. As expected, Jun Linyuan threw an impatient and dirty look at Feng Wu. She ignored Jun Linyuan's attitude and only beamed at him. Play with me, please. Don't you want to know everyone else's secret? She then dragged Jun Linyuan toward the other two, and despite the reluctant look on his face, he let her. From an angle the crown prince couldn't see, Xian Yi and Feng Sun smiled. One interesting pair. Where are we going to sit? Feng Sun's eyes darted around, but he only saw 2 chairs at the table. Feng Wu pressed down on his shoulders and made him sit on the floor. There, the carpet is thick enough for you to sit on. Feng Sun had no problem with it, but he wasn't sure about Jun Linyuan. His boss Jun was an uptight and graceful man who couldn't possibly sit on the floor, even if he really was in love with Feng Wu. No, he would never say yes. Feng Sun's mouth fell open when Feng Wu took Jun Linyuan's hand and gestured to him to sit down. Come on, sit here. The proud and respectable crown prince really sat down on the thick carpet. Feng Sun was speechless. They could tell that boss Jun was a little awkward as he sat there stiffly, because he had never sat on the ground apart from when he was cultivating. Here we go. The game starts now. Feng Wu cut to the chase, for she was in a hurry. She didn't have much time left. She was only on the third trial, but this ridiculous mission was already driving her crazy. There were quite a few finger-guessing games they could choose from, but Feng Wu only had one particular game in mind. Let's start with rock, paper, and scissors. What's that? Feng Sun asked curiously. Feng Wu explained the rules to him. That sounds fun. Let's start then. I can't wait. Feng Sun and Xian Yi exchanged smiles. They decided that they would be the best wingmen possible today. If little Feng Wu or boss Jun lost, they would definitely ask questions about their feelings for each other. Since there were 4 of them, they would have to form 2 pairs to play rock, paper, and scissors. After picking lots, Feng Wu was up against Feng Sun. She grinned at him. I'm going to go with paper. Feng Sun glanced at her and decided not to believe a word this mischievous girl said. Hence, Feng Sun chose rock without hesitation. However, Feng Wu really used paper, so she won. Feng Sun was dumbfounded. Xian Yi and Jun Linyuan had their round as well, and obviously, Xian Yi lost. So, the final round was between Xian Yi and Feng Sun. Chapter 1243, The Final Round 2. 1243, The Final Round 2. In the end, it was between Xian Yi and Feng Sun. Naturally, Xian Yi won, and Feng Sun lost. Hence, Xian Yi asked Feng Sun, truth or dare? Feng Sun stared at Xian Yi. Truth. Xian Yi nodded and smiled. Are you sure? Feng Sun's stomach lurched, but he still rested his hands on his waist and said, Bring it on. I'd like to see you try. Xian Yi grinned. Who was the first girl you fell in love with? What? Instinctively, Feng Sun glanced at Feng Wu, and the next second, he wanted to choke Xian Yi. Back at Northern Border City, he hadn't known about Boss Jun's feelings for Feng Wu and had really had a crush on her. But that was a long time ago. Dare. Feng Sun glared at Xian Yi. I choose dare. Feng Wu didn't get the hint, and only looked at Feng Sun curiously. Wait, Feng Sun, who's the girl? Do we know her? If not, why would he have such a reaction? Feng Sun glanced at Boss Jun, and as expected, Boss Jun's face had darkened. He recalled the night when Boss Jun had gone to his place and wanted to challenge him for no reason. He hadn't known what that was about back then, but he had figured everything out now. Dare. It has to be dare. Feng Sun said anxiously. Feng Wu was curious. Which girl is it? Why can't you tell us? I'm so curious. Feng Sun glared at her and wondered if she was asking the question on purpose. Xian Yi teased him. If I'm not mistaken. Feng Sun glared at Xian Yi. Xian Yi, do you have a death wish? Xian Yi smiled, but didn't say anything. Since Feng Wu was in a rush, she said, Fine, there it is then. Go downstairs and catch a fish. Feng Sun glared at Feng Wu. What do you need that for? Feng Wu smiled. Didn't you choose dare? Go catch a fish now. Remember, I want alive. Feng Sun had no idea what Feng Wu's plan was, but in order to avoid truth, he had no choice but to go downstairs. Luckily, there were all kinds of fish in the kitchen of the World Tower, and Feng Sun scooped out the first one he saw. He stepped out of the kitchen to find Feng Wu leaning against the doorframe. Feng Wu chuckled when she saw the fish. It was a black, slimy fish with barbed spikes around its mouth. Feng Sun found it odd, but still looked curiously at Feng Wu. What are you doing down here? Is it me, or are you acting very strangely today? Feng Wu smiled at Feng Sun. Guess what I'm going to do with your fish? Feng Sun asked. What are you going to do? You're not going to make me eat it raw, are you? Feng Wu grinned. I won't, but I may ask you to kiss it. Hey, little Feng Wu, have you forgotten that I'm your brother? Feng Sun glared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu smiled. Well, I'll cut you loose if you do something for me. I won't even ask you who the girl is. Feng Sun asked, what do you want? Feng Wu smiled. It's very simple. Let's make Jun Lin Yuan lose, and after that, we'll make him choose dare. Feng Sun asked, what do you want him to do? Chapter 1244, The Final Round 3. Chapter 1244, The Final Round 3. Crossing her hands behind her back, Feng Wu grinned at Feng Sun. She then leaned closer and whispered something in his ear. Hey, little Feng Wu, do you have any shame at all? Feng Sun was astonished. Feng Wu snorted. Will you do it for me or not? Feng Sun scratched his head. Are you that eager? Boss Jun annulled your marriage agreement already. And there's also Zhuo Qingwan, the genius teenage girl, to consider. Don't you have any ambition at all? Feng Wu was speechless. How does ambition have anything to do with this? I'm only trying to finish my mission, thought Feng Wu. She stared at Feng Sun. You're my brother. Are you going to say no to me? Of course Feng Sun couldn't say no. Fine, fine. I'll do it. And I'll have Xian the second help you with it too. Satisfied? Feng Sun rolled his eyes at Feng Wu. Brother, you're so smart. Feng Wu took his arm in excitement. Feng Sun said grumpily, I'm your smart brother when you need something from me, but when you don't need me, you treat me like rubbish. Huh? Feng Wu held his arm. What are you talking about? The brother and sister bantered all the way as they went up to Beyond World. The Crown Prince's face turned even more livid when he saw their linked arms. Before Feng Wu could let go of Feng Sun, he pushed her away and complained, How clumsy can you be? You would have sprained your ankle if I didn't grab your arm. Feng Sun could clearly sense the change in Jun Linyuan's mood after he said those words. Feng Wu meant it when she said that she would cut Feng Sun loose. Hence, she only asked Feng Sun to cut the fish open in the end, but nothing more. From an angle Feng Wu couldn't see, the Crown Prince was eyeing Feng Wu suspiciously. Soon, the second round started. After drawing lots, Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan were paired up, but Feng Wu lost to Jun Linyuan in the first round. Feng Wu was dumbfounded. She had lost already, which meant that Jun Linyuan was already safe after the first round. Feng Wu was speechless. Xian Yi won the round with Feng Sun, so the final round was between Feng Wu and Feng Sun. The two of them looked at each other in embarrassment, and Feng Sun shrugged. It seems that I can't help you. Feng Wu was speechless. She couldn't believe it when she lost to Feng Sun in the end. Feng Wu. Feng Sun shrugged. I didn't mean to. Xian Yi smiled at Feng Wu. Truth or dare? Feng Wu bit her lower lip. Meanwhile, the fairy reminded her in her head, You only have 5 minutes left. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. Dare would take too much time, so Feng Wu said truth. Good. Xian Yi and Feng Sun exchanged looks, and both grinned. They had already decided that they would act as the perfect wingmen today. What do you think of Boss Jun? Feng Sun smiled at Feng Wu. Feng Sun was very happy with the easy question he came up with. Little Feng Wu, here's a great opportunity. So, use it to express your love for Boss Jun now, thought Feng Sun. However, Feng Sun clearly didn't understand Feng Wu. Chapter 1245, The Last Moment 1. 1245, The Last Moment 1. What do you think of Jun Linyuan? Feng Wu's head went blank when she heard the question. The first thing she could think of was that she was going to kill Feng Sun. Jun Linyuan was such an arrogant, proud, and unreasonable man that she didn't know where to begin complaining about him. However, she couldn't say those things to Jun Linyuan's face since it would certainly infuriate him. She still needed his cooperation for the future trials. At that thought, Feng Wu beamed at him. His Royal Highness is handsome, unbelievably talented, and so well endowed that no one is comparable with him. He's not just an outstanding young man, but the most distinguished leader of our generation. Feng Wu didn't mean a word she said, but her listeners thought she did. The expression on Jun Linyuan's face softened, and the look in his eyes was no longer as piercing. There was an affection in his eyes that even he was unaware of. Feng Sun and Xian Yi exchanged looks and grinned inwardly. They knew they were right. Little Feng Wu was indeed very fond of His Royal Highness. Seeing that Jun Linyuan was happy to hear those words, Feng Wu was equally elated. Her only hope was that Jun Linyuan would help her finish all the 12 trials. If she was right, she would find a second broken star piece after these 12 trials of love. That way, her beautiful master could wake up for a little while again. Feng Wu couldn't wait. Everyone there had their own plan and were on completely different wavelengths. You only have 4 minutes left. There was an anxious voice in her head, and needless to say, it was the fairy. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. She only had 4 minutes left, which wasn't a lot of time at all. Hey, let's keep going. Feng Wu beckoned at the others. She realized that she couldn't keep playing rock, paper, and scissors, for it would take her forever to win that way. At that thought, Feng Wu changed her plan. Wait, I have a new idea. All eyes were on Feng Wu, Jun Linyuan included. The girl was always so quick-witted, and she could always come up with new ideas. No matter what happened, she never seemed dispirited. Feng Wu picked up a bottle and put it in the middle on the floor. She then said, let's play something new. I'll spin the bottle, and the person whom the bottle points at is the loser. They'll have to choose between truth or dare. Feng Sun was determined to help Feng Wu, because he really wanted to see someone as aloof as the Crown Prince play upsy-daisy with Feng Wu. So he said, oh, what an interesting idea. Count me in. I want to play. Feng Sun had given Xian Yi the heads up, so Xian Yi didn't object to the idea either. The Crown Prince didn't say a word. They proceeded to play the game Feng Wu described. I'll spin the bottle. Feng Wu was so eager to see Jun Linyuan lose that she rolled up her sleeves and volunteered. Feng Sun chimed in, great. We'll take turns spinning the bottle. You go first. Chapter 1246, The Last Moment 2. Chapter 1246, The Last Moment 2. Feng Wu gave Feng Sun an appreciative look, pleased by the fact that he was finally acting like a brother. Their eyes met, and Feng Sun raised an eyebrow in satisfaction. I'm the most reliable brother, aren't I? Feng Wu put her hand on the bottle and spun it clockwise. Instantly, all eyes were on the long and thin glass bottle. Feng Wu had calculated the speed at which the bottle should spin and had used just the right amount of strength. If everything went as planned, the bottle would stop when it pointed at Jun Linyuan. Finally, she wouldn't be rushed this time. Feng Wu sighed with relief inwardly and made up her mind that Feng Sun would be the one to tell Jun Linyuan what the dare would be. The bottle went on spinning, but was starting to slow down. At this rate, it would stop and point right at Jun Linyuan. In other words, she would be halfway through this trial. Feng Wu was getting very excited when Feng Sun's nose tickled, and, achoo, he sneezed right in the direction of the bottle. At the impact, the bottle was supposed to stop in front of Jun Linyuan, but Feng Sun's sneeze pushed it right past the Crown Prince. At the impact, the bottle ended up pointing at Feng Wu when it stopped moving. Feng Wu was speechless. She stared at the bottle, then slowly raised her head and looked at Feng Sun in disbelief. Even Feng Sun was astonished at himself. Sensing the rage gathering inside Feng Wu, he immediately waved his hands at Feng Wu. Xiao Wu, I didn't mean to. I really didn't mean to. Feng Wu was almost in tears. The man was supposed to help her, but what did he do instead? No, I can't get angry. That would be a waste of time. Calm down, calm down. Taking a deep breath, Feng Wu tried her best to remain calm. She gritted her teeth, but still couldn't stop herself from trembling when she said truth. What? Feng Wu said, I want truth, so just ask me the question. These people had no idea what time meant to her now. Her eyes almost spat fire when she glared at Feng Sun. If she could, she would burn the man to ash. Only then did Feng Sun seem to hear her. Sure. Well, the question. He was about to find an easy question to get it over with so that they could start another round, when the Crown Prince said quietly, "Feng Wu, I'm going to ask the question." Wow. Everyone looked at Jun Lin Yuan curiously. He had been quite indifferent since they started playing, and they didn't expect him to volunteer to ask a question. Feng Wu's stomach lurched, and she had a bad feeling. However, since Jun Lin Yuan had given the command, she couldn't say no. So, she smiled at him. "Your Royal Highness, feel free to ask me whatever you want. I'll try my best to answer you." Jun Lin Yuan's eyes were like bottomless pits, and he raised his eyebrows when he said, "So, the question I'm going to ask you is..." After some hesitation, he kept his unblinking gaze on Feng Wu and asked earnestly, "Have you ever resented me for canceling our marriage agreement?" Chapter 1247, The Last Moment 3. Chapter 1247, The Last Moment 3. Have you ever resented me for canceling our marriage agreement? How was she supposed to answer that question? Dumbfounded, Feng Wu stared blankly at him. Feng Sun and Xian exchanged looks and saw the smile in each other's eyes. It was such a subtle question. If they didn't know that the Crown Prince was in love with Feng Wu, they would never have guessed what he meant. Boss Jun would be so mad if Feng Wu's answer was no, for it would mean that Feng Wu didn't care about him and might actually feel happy that the marriage was off the table. But if the answer was yes, the Crown Prince would probably be over the moon. So, could Feng Wu understand the meaning of the question or not? As it turned out, she couldn't. She had no idea that Jun Lin Yuan was fond of her. So far, she still believed that Jun Lin Yuan found her disagreeable to the eye, and that all he ever did was pick on her. Biting her fingers, Feng Wu racked her brain, trying to figure out what answer she should give. It was such a tough question. As she bit her nails, she threw a dirty look at Feng Sun again. "Answer the question, then. Have you ever felt resentful or not?" Feng Sun raised an eyebrow and grinned at Feng Wu. Time was of the essence here, so what could Feng Wu do? Well, it was His Royal Highness's decision, so what choice did I have? Plus, it's been a long time since it happened, so of course I don't resent His Royal Highness. Feng Wu patted her chest and was very proud of being such a magnanimous person. Feng Sun's stomach lurched when he heard Feng Wu's answer. Oh no, before he knew it, he was looking at Jun Lin Yuan. As expected, the look in Boss Jun's eyes had turned so cold that it was sharp enough to cut someone open. The temperature around him dropped, and the coldness spread out. The steaming pot on the red clay stove was instantly frozen. Rising to his feet, the Crown Prince flipped his sleeves and headed for the door. Feng Wu was dumbfounded. What on earth was going on? Feng Sun gave her a nudge. "Little Feng Wu, are you an idiot? Go get him back." Feng Wu was speechless. She could understand what Jun Lin Yuan was angry about. Just then the fairy's voice rang out in her head. "You have 2 minutes left." What? Feng Wu looked like she had been struck by lightning as she stood there dazed. The next second, she jumped up and ran toward Jun Lin Yuan as fast as she could. The Crown Prince was about to kick the door open, but Feng Wu blocked his way with her arms spread open. He almost kicked her in the stomach. Jun Lin Yuan's eyes were bloodshot red as he stared at Feng Wu with a ferocious look in his eyes. "Out of my way." Like how Feng Wu would do that. She would rather kill herself than let Jun Lin Yuan leave. Her broken star piece, and her beautiful master. At that thought, Feng Wu decided to stay where she was. "No, I won't." Rage was written all over the Crown Prince's beautiful face, and he stared at Feng Wu with a sharp, cold gaze. "Are you going to move or not?" "No." The next second, the Crown Prince's vice-like hands were wrapped around Feng Wu's neck. His knuckles had turned white, and blue veins popped on the back of his hands. He could easily snap Feng Wu's thin neck if he tightened his grip. Feng Sun and Xian were astonished when they saw this. "Boss Jun." Feng Sun instinctively tried to save Feng Wu, but before he could say another word, Xian tugged at him. Chapter 1248, The Last Moment 4. Chapter 1248, The Last Moment 4. Shoo! Xian gestured at Feng Sun to keep quiet. Feng Sun glared at Xian anxiously. Boss Jun has lost his mind. Xian shook his head. For one, even if I let you go over, can you defeat Boss Jun and take Feng Wu away? Feng Sun shook his head. Xian said, for another, if Boss Jun really wants to kill Feng Wu, would she still be alive? Feng Sun shook his head. Xian went on, I know you don't want anything to happen to that girl, but do you think Boss Jun can bring himself to hurt her? Feng Sun shook his head again. Xian asked, so, what are you worried about? They were whispering to each other, so Jun Linyuan and Feng Wu didn't hear any of their conversation. Meanwhile, the young couple was staring at each other, each one more stubborn than the other, and neither would give in. Jun Linyuan smirked. Are you going to move or not? Feng Wu shook her head. You can't leave. The Crown Prince's defiant side finally woke up. Who are you to tell me to stay? Little Feng Wu, you're nothing to me. Vexed, the Crown Prince let go of her before he walked toward the window. They were on the 10th floor of the World Tower, A.K., of the place known as Beyond World. Each of the 9 floors below took up dozens of meters in height, so they were several hundred meters above the ground at the moment. Looking out the window, all they saw was curling mist and rolling clouds. It felt as though they were in a heavenly court. The Crown Prince's thin lips were as red as blood, and his features were as well-defined as a sculpture. Without another word, he prepared to jump out the window. Shit! Feng Wu's heart sank. You have 1 minute left. The fairy's anxious reminder rang out in Feng Wu's head at that moment. Feng Wu panicked. Jun Linyuan was much faster than she was, and if she let him go now, she would never be able to catch him in time. And she would fail her mission. The thought made Feng Wu even more anxious, so she ran toward the window without hesitation. Whoosh! She moved as fast as a flash of light. Everyone in the room was astonished. Feng Sun, Xian Yi, and even Jun Linyuan were all dumbfounded, because they just watched as Feng Wu jumped out the window to fall down below. Moreover, she was facing them as she fell, with her back to the ground. Xiao Wu, Feng Sun screamed. But Jun Linyuan moved faster than Feng Sun could cry out. The second Feng Wu jumped out the window, Jun Linyuan reacted quickly and jumped out after her, making a beeline for Feng Wu. That damn girl. Blue veins popped on the corner of his forehead and the side of his neck. Given how capable the Crown Prince was, he was able to catch up to Feng Wu when she was halfway down to the ground. When Jun Linyuan almost had her, the girl did something incredible. She grabbed Jun Linyuan's hand and pulled herself down toward the ground. What is she doing? Did she have a death wish? Caught by surprise, Jun Linyuan was pulled down with her. Feng Wu jinned. Jun Linyuan, raise me up. I dare you. His face turned livid. Just then, ding, the third trial has been completed. The fairy finally announced the good news. OMG. Feng Wu was so excited that she was almost in tears. Finally, she had succeeded. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.